Welcome to Show versus Business. Oh my God, Theo, I am so excited. I am super pumped and so glad to be here today talking with you. Would you guess what I just heard about?
What?
This great guru that I found. Oh my gosh, he told me the 10 secrets to long lasting life, wealth, and prosperity. I'm going to get into it big. I'm going to do it, but you just need to wait 5 minutes while I explain all the details of this great, exciting program that you can get for 200. Wait, hold on, I'm sorry. I got brainwashed there for a second by all the guru talk. It was so good. It was so good,
You
man.
almost had me. You almost had me. Waiting for the offer, man. I was waiting for the offer.
Oh, man. That's hard for me to talk like that, man. It's just the guru life is hitting me from all different directions, man, and I don't know what to do with it.
Oh man, this guru life, man. It's man, yeah. It seems like they've always been around, doesn't it? I mean, as long as my business life, even before my business life, these guys that come in and they have the secret to life, financial prosperity, relationships. It's amazing. They have everything you ever wanted, and it's like all I gotta do is just buy their book, right? The 39.99 book, and they'll give me the secret to life.
Order now. Quantities are limited.
Yes, man, this goes back. I mean, there's nothing new having folks out there. I mean, this goes back before our time, right? I mean, when they had peddlers, peddling snake oil, right? Going from
Yeah.
town to town. This elixir will make you stronger or grow back your hair. And so, and then of course, coming from, the Christian background, preachers, they, giving you a good
Ooh.
message. And then the Lord, he wants that tithe. And so, that's
Oh,
kind of an
man.
aspect of it as well, right? With that, calling out and getting people to understand, and feeling like they're connected to God by, providing money, So
Man,
it
this
it,
is
it goes
religious,
back. It
son.
goes back.
This is religious, baby. You get into that cult, you part of a religion, son.
Oh yeah.
There's certain connections I didn't make before that I just made when you said that, and we'll get into it a bit, but I thought this would be a fun topic. We've been talking about some gurus. We've been talking about some, ways alternative learning, I'll call it. I don't know. You wanna get the greatest information, and then you open up YouTube, and there's so many people talking. It's like so, yeah, this all wraps up into a whole bunch of stuff, but the thing is, I was speaking with and I've been doing this for a couple years, looking at creators and what they're missing, right? And we had an AI discussion last year, how the people in the creative community were just pissed at the AI, how it's taken over some things. And I'm like, yeah, you got to get out there and market yourself, brand yourself, and that's what makes you different and special. And the fight back, the pushback was so hard. It's like, no, I'm just a creator. I'm here to build models. I'm here to paint. I'm here to make my movie or my play or whatever. And so I was like, well, here's some information I got from these gurus, and that doesn't go over well. I get all the creators throw tomatoes at me for bringing up gurus, and I get it. I get it, but then I'm like, you got to get with the program. So I know you came from a technical background, right? I mean, well, you started. You were doing mechanical engineering, right? Electrical or chemical,
Yeah,
mechanical,
yeah, yeah. You're close. Electrical engineering by
electrical. Sorry.
training, and then I went to school for that. I got a master's degree in it. So yeah, I'm more of a builder too, right? I was initially a builder and thinking about like, oh, you got to build it. You make this great product, and people flock to it. But I think my I understand where your artist friends are coming from, right? Because that's the normal take of how we kind of think of things. But that's no longer the case, man. I mean, it's always been about marketing, how you position yourself in the client's mind or how you communicate the benefits your product gives to someone. But is really more so now than ever because the internet, there's zero cost for distribution. You can get out a digital product for nothing. And so before, you had gatekeepers to get on TV to on radio and all that. But now, man, it's like, so now you can put marketing messages out there ad infinitum and see what ad infinitum, and you can figure out which ones stick. You may not even have a product. but as long as you can build an audience before you have a product now, just based on words alone and positioning alone. And so that's the new thing now. So yeah, I've been, slowly, moving over into that space more and more so as I started have my own business, realizing that, it's all about marketing, sales, man. If you ain't got that, you got nothing. So it's definitely
Yeah.
been a journey for me as well.
Yeah, I think with definitely a journey. I think with the whole transition into the internet, I've been calling this the attention age that we're getting into. And I heard that and listened to it, but I didn't really understand it until I started trying to put a product out there and listen to how it compared to products that speak to people versus products that just are quote unquote good and quality on their own. And it got me to start challenging the idea of if you build it, they will come. Because that's a common perception, right? If you build it, they will come. Why doesn't that work? That idea.
I mean, there's scores of folks who built a better product that didn't win. I mean, I just think the first thing that came in was Betamax versus VHS, right? Like Betamax is supposed to be a superior technology, right? But they just couldn't beat VHS out, right? And so that was one for a long time. Mac, everyone knew Mac was better, but PC was eating his lunch back in the day, right? And so that's another one. They were
Mm,
positioning themselves well. And there was also some things around distribution, how they can get the PCs out a little bit faster than MacBook could. I mean, but now that's different. Apple, from a marketing standpoint, they understood that and they've kind of rolled with the punches ever since. But they still make elegant products, right? So that's one of the few companies that's figured that out.
Did
But
you,
go ahead.
oh, real quick, did you see that video of Steve Jobs where he's having a conference, an internal Apple conference, and one of the engineers stands up and says, "How can you justify pushing forward with this new OS when it uses Java in this way and clearly does not?" And he goes down to a technical breakdown and basically calls Steve Jobs a dumbass.
And what did Steve Jobs reply with?
Well, he kind of furrowed his brow and put his hand on his chin, like he was, kind of stroking his chin, like, well, what I've come to learn is that it doesn't matter what we think. And the point is to talk to the customer. And he basically goes to this short discussion on how he had to change his thinking from being, starting from a builder and reaching out to the people to mentally switching that to going to the people and building backwards from there. Where it's like whatever you're building, it's fundamentally about people. So if you start with people, you'll probably be in a much better position when you actually build something.
Absolutely, absolutely. And also what I've come to believe too is, just ship, right? Just get the product, something out there so you get fast feedback, right? So even if it's not perfect or even if you haven't ever figured everything out, you get a better sense of what people want, and then that makes you a better understanding of what the market is looking for at any point in time. So I'm a big believer in that. Just get something out and see what the market is. And not so much like just saying stuff, just to say, but almost kind of, kind of just like testing out the waters. Like, hey, what if we did this? And they'd be
Yeah.
like, okay. What about
'Cause
this?
it's see that's the point that gets a lot of people, what you just said, well, let's just say something. Well, let's just put something out there. That sounds like it's a bad thing to people who are creating. So like, okay, when you're talking to your gurus or whatever, you hear all this, and because of that, I think it just really sounds bad. What how do you know what's good and what's bad, what's a scam, what's not?
Yeah, that's a good
It's
point. I mean, you don't. Let's be honest. I mean, it's so much out there. I mean, what, someone who, and be honest with you. So, I mean, I don't know if we want to talk about like our history with gurus. I mean, I can remember, Tony Robbins, back in the day, and I actually bought, I forgot what his program was. It was like, he always has a new program. It was one program I actually bought. It was like a booklet. You were supposed to read the booklet,
Mhm.
and I actually bought that. I never bought anything. That was like the first thing I bought. That was what back in like early days of my career at Cisco, And I was like, "Hey, I needed something to kinda, get over the hump." And so I looked at it, I said, "Okay, this is good." And that's pretty much it with some tapes and stuff like that, and just to kind of
Right.
prepare your mind. And so that kind of, set the stage for me to kind of think differently about like, okay, this stuff could work. I mean, it's about mindset. And I think if you do control your mind, it does control everything else. And so I thought that was really insightful. But just like everybody else, it's just one of those things you just gotta be in it, right? Some people take to it like a duck in water, right? They just jump in and just like all in. And then some people like, okay, they dibble and dabble with different gurus. And I even before that, I remember my dad, he was in sales. He used to listen to tons of tapes, like Zig
Didn't know
Ziglar.
that.
Yeah, Zig Ziglar, the old school Jim Rohn. Yeah, I don't know if you guys know who
Yeah,
that
yeah,
is. And so, all the time, in his car, listen to tapes and stuff like that. And it kind of, seeped into me. And so even to this day, I'm always listening to a podcast or
yeah,
some guru or something. So I think I come by honestly to kind of say, hey, if nothing else, it does inspire you to think differently and give you new ideas and concepts as you kind of navigate your particular situation. Because, if nothing else, it just gives you a different perspective and different ways of seeing things. And that's kind of how I kind of gravitated to gurus. What about you? What was your history with gurus?
You know what? Similar situation. My dad, as you know, he was a professional artist. Like
Mhm.
he worked with the state of Florida. He did portraits for people. He was actually, a job employed artist, but
Yeah.
every artist has their studio side where they kind of do their own thing. And my dad's no different. So he had this idea of, getting his art out there, going to galleries, and he realized that, like, hey, there's a whole side to this I don't understand outside of creation, where it's getting it out to the people, talking to the people. And I remember we were at this art show when I was a kid, and there was this guy there. I think his name was Faisal or something like that. And coming from, we're in North Florida, South Georgia area, and there's this guy named Faisal. This dude had like the loudest clothes. They weren't crazy colors, but he just had like this flaring trench coat with, like black on the outside and white stripes on the inside. He had this crazy fedora, he was looking like a supervillain way before, comics were cool and cosplay was in. But he was just walking around talking to people. And my dad just looked at him and I think he mumbled something along the lines of, if people would stop looking at Faisal. You know? And Faisal had all the attention, but his art wasn't that great. I mean,
Oh man, that's
like,
funny.
everybody else there was just the pure creative artist, and Faisal was out there just hamming it up for everybody.
And
And,
getting money and getting paid.
you know, I don't know how well he did in the end, but I just remember my dad kind of, like, not being concerned, but just kinda looking over at this guy like, "What's he doing?" And when my dad did that, I did that. I kinda looked over like, "Yeah, what is he doing?" And I think that kinda started the spark in me too, because my dad had, you know, a lot of you may not have ever seen like the big collections of, 17 CDs, or that big booklet of cassette tapes where they all like were arranged in the
Yes.
album.
I remember that. I remember those
So
days.
yeah, I actually ended up going to a seminar where you got
Mhm.
the whole cell.
Nice.
My parents would take me on all their stuff, right? So I got a seminar and the guy was up there like, "Listen, if you want to do this, you could buy this and then move that and sell this." And I was asking my mom and dad, I was like, "Why are we here?" And my mom was like, "Hey, they promised us knives and a microwave, and our microwave is about to go out, so figured this would be an interesting thing to go to."
Do you remember what the
Yeah.
guru was that you went to go see? You remember back in the day?
I don't remember what the guru
Yeah.
was talking about, but my mom was in the seminar hall grading papers, right? While this guy's talking, and my dad's over there with his sketchbook open, drawing pictures, right? They're both
Nice.
doing things that aren't part of the seminar. And after the guy finishes talking, he's like, "Okay, for everybody who stays, you can get, we're gonna offer get you your microwaves. But if you go ahead and leave now, you're gonna get your knives." And I was like, "Hey, we can get the knives." And my dad's like, "Hmm, do I feel like staying longer to get the microwave? What do you think, Shirley?" He turns it, and it was just the whole market, the sales and marketing thing, right? The whole sales
Uh,
pitch,
yeah.
you gotta stay longer. Yeah, if you've never been to one of those experiences, it's eye-opening. But basically, that was my first big intro to that whole world, and after that, it just changed my trajectory a little bit on, like, watching out for people who are trying to scam you, watching out for
Mhm.
what's maybe a good product, but may not be for you,
Mm.
figuring out that whole landscape. So, that was my history, yeah, and nowadays, it's like, same thing pretty much just on the internet.
Yeah, yeah, and so, continue in college, I think a few folks kinda I forgot what it was, but it was some Amway thing, people got some of those college students trying to get engaged in, kinda one of those pyramid schemes, You
Yeah,
you get folks working under you to do stuff, and so, it was I think I went dark for a lot of gurus for a while, right, until I kinda jumped back onto Tony Robbins and when I was working. And then, every once in a while, I think what happened I don't know if it was with you or just on my own, I heard this thing called 10X, and, I just like, "Man." Well, no, I take that back. It was this guy named Gary V, and this is
yeah.
like, not too long ago, right, when I had kinda started this business doing healthcare technology, and I heard this guy named Gary Vee, like, "Who's this joker?" And I start, eating his content. I mean, he was one of the first ones I kinda saw just big on the internet everywhere. He had some books, I read his books, and I was like, "Oh, man, this guy," I mean, he cussed like a sailor, but he knew what he was talking about when it comes to just, getting attention in this new world of internet, right? Where,
Yeah.
everybody was everything. And so that was like one of the more recent gurus I kinda, glommed onto, and
When was this now?
oh, man, it had to be around, like, 24 15, 16. Yeah, it was like,
That sounds like the early Gary Vee era when he really
y
started popping.
yeah, he started popping, I started listening, and, he was the only one kinda on YouTube, right? I think he started doing daily V before anybody was thinking about putting content out every day, right? And so, he was just out there, man. He was, like, far ahead of everybody else. I think he was one of the early investors in Uber because he knew Travis Kalanick. I mean,
Yeah.
he just happened to be the right place at the right time. And his claim to fame, you don't know. He basically had a wine business. He helped his father build the business up from 3 million to 30 million, basically selling wine over the internet. And he's got some old videos of him just sitting in front of I guess, camcorder doing videos of him selling wine. And he just took that to the next level. He knew, he was doing banner ads back in the day. He did everything right before
Email marketing.
email marketing before anybody was kinda doing it, and he kind of figured all that out, and he made a good point. I mean, we'll talk about it later, but, I think there's nuggets in every guru that you can kinda take, and one of his big nuggets, he's like, reason why he's always first to everything is because that's where you have the biggest arbitrage. In other words, you have the biggest advantage because no one knows how to optimize on it yet, and so
Mhm.
you can, take advantage of it. So, that's why he was getting open rates of his emails like 30%. When it
Yeah.
first started, right? Which is unheard of.
Yeah, what do you okay, hold on. How do you define arbitrage? Because that's an important word.
Yeah. So, yeah, that's a good point.
I
So,
mean,
let me
maybe not
think.
definition, but what does it mean?
Yeah, I mean, for me, it means you can take advantage of the market inefficiencies, right? Because not everything's like a perfect market, like a stock market, for instance, right? It's
Mhm.
hard to know when to buy or sell. Because there's imperfect information, you can take advantage of it and, make a lot of money. So basically, in the email market, no one knew what he was doing. When they sent the email, they said, "Oh, I never got an email from a stranger before. So let me
Yeah,
just open this," right? But no one knew what the protocol was. And then once he figured that out and he got like huge, open rates, then, eventually the market finds out this is working. And so you get more competitors in, and then you change the behavior of the consumer, and then pretty soon people are like, I'm not opening this crap. It's going to be someone selling me something. And then now you get
right.
open rates at 3%. Then you need copywriting to kind of, differentiate. Or just like Google Ads, for instance, when they first started, everybody just clicked on everything, right? It's, oh, this is search. I'm searching for um, paper, right? And the first thing that popped up, oh, that must be the best search. Nuh-uh, that's an ad. We weren't checking
Right.
for an ad. So you click on it and now someone's selling you some paper and they just got paid off of that as opposed to you just, some random search. But we got wise to that. And soon that became, people. So basically it's basically that the period in a market where there's inefficiencies and people can take advantage of the unknown and the fact that consumer behavior hasn't adapted yet to that new change.
Yeah.
So he was the one that kind of helped me understand. That's why he went on, all this stuff, Twitter first, TikTok first, and whatever the next new thing is, I'm sure
Yeah.
he's right there.
An example of that, like you're talking about with Twitter, it's people were online, but they weren't used to having conversations with random people, right? So they would get online because Twitter was just kind of open, right?
Yeah.
And you would usually only talk to your friends or whatever and only respond if somebody asked a direct question. It was a weird environment where it was pretty tame compared to what we have now, right?
Yeah.
So I remember getting on there and I wanted to find out, when was this? 2010-ish,
Hmm.
9? I don't know. 8, 7, something like that. Early Twitter. And I got on there and I started just looking up like, well, who is on Twitter? I mean, this is the whole black Twitter thing. I was like, who is on Twitter? Let's see. Okay, this guy's on here, but he's not talking. And I found DJ Woo Kid. That was the G Unit DJ, 50 Cents DJ, right? So I got on there and I was like, hey, Woo Kid, what's up? And just kept going. And then a little while later, boop, boop. Hey, man, what's going on? Nothing much, hanging out in Greece. I was like, what? What? I, I got a reply just like that. It blew my mind that it was so. And yeah, the whole arbitrage thing was there. It's like, wait a minute. And the way I kind of look at it is, I totally agree with your definition. I've always looked at it in the gap between what the market expects
Hmm.
and what the people want. There's this gap in expectations and want, where the market doesn't know that it can feed the people in a certain way, or the people
Mm.
don't know that the market has this certain offering. So
Mhm.
you can capitalize on that. You can exploit that, where it's like, oh, people on Twitter don't know that they can just talk to random stars, and random stars aren't diluted with people's messages. So I can literally just go searching every celebrity and say, "Hey man, how's it going? Check this out. Hey man, how's it going? What's your name?" And I just started having this conversation with Woo Kid, and that blew my mind that nobody was doing this yet.
Wow. Wow. Because they didn't know. And what I think also is learned behavior, right?
Mhm.
It's like after a while you realize, oh, there's people who are trying to sell me stuff. And then so, people see it work, just like any kind of market, right? If it's working, because even in my market, I was selling a new way to kind of help with doctors getting paid for not doing anything really. And I saw my market kinda just get saturated, it's like, wow, everybody just there was nobody here, and now all of a sudden everybody's here. That always happens, and just like with all these kind of, media tools. So, I think going back to Gary Vee as a guru, I get so that's kinda one of the guys, but then I started kind of realizing that he was kind of not basic, but he was always gonna stay kinda low level where he was trying to more about exposing, getting out there. So a lot of, he's always doing a lot of, the same kind of communications, all right, around
Mhm.
how to get engaged in on social media. So, I was kind of looking around and then, I saw this book about, I remember seeing this book at the barbershop. It was like 10X. And I
Yes.
said, oh, that's an interesting concept. 10X. Yeah, sure. I want a 10X. Everybody wants a 10X, right? And then so I finally, bit the bullet and bought the book. And it was by this guy named Grant Cardone, and man, that dude, man. So so Grant Cardone, for those that don't know, was a guru that came from car sales initially, and then
The
he created
the
a
worst
yes,
stereotype.
yes, the worst stereotype. Came from car sales, built a nationwide sales kind of program, right? And that was his kind of claim to fame. And I think he wrote, a book, well, he wrote a book before that, I think through the last recession. I forgot, it was Sold to Be Sold, or I can't remember what it was called, but
Celebrity Soul came before that, and he
yeah,
had the Millionaires booklet, which was a
yeah.
smaller one. I
So he dabbled in it, right? Kind of, but it was his 10X was his piece of resistance, right? Where he talked about like, if you have a goal or target, 10X it. Because then you're definitely gonna hit your goal or target. So if you're trying to make $1 million, say you're gonna make $10 million.
10
And then you're like, what? And then, but then you start thinking about that mindset. He's not wrong, because yes, you may not hit that 10X goal, but you did hit that initial goal that you set for yourself, and it gives you a sense of thinking bigger and achieving more than you ever expected. And so it kind of revolutionized. I mean, well, he definitely put him on the map. And, now it's his 10X movement, 10X conference. He's just big time doing all this stuff now. And so I kind of went all in on him, like listen to his audio tapes and videos and books. And I didn't buy anything from him though. So it was weird. I was just like, that was nah, I'm good. So, but I felt like, I got the gist of what he was kind of, communicating around, and it will always, at the beginning of the year, I think for the last couple of years, I would always kind of reread his book just to get inspired again as I was building my
Yeah.
business up. So that was my exposure to him.
So the 10X rule was a subtitle 10X rule. The only difference between success and failure. I mean, that's bold. So he came at you.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. That's the guy. I mean, the guy, he is a marketer. I mean, and he came at this game late. I mean, I think he started in his 50s, right? And then he
Yeah,
just
yeah,
kind of blew up. I think he's like up the top, pretty much the top now, right? And now he's all about real estate. And now he's starting to work with a lot of other smaller gurus and stuff like that, which we'll get into in a second, but
yeah,
he's been up there for a while and starting to, differentiate himself, almost on that, the gurus of gurus, Tony Robbins level, right? When it comes to
yeah,
just the marketing level of marketing on the internet. Tony Robbins is really king of the infomercial back in the day. Remember Tony Robbins was the
yeah.
man, infomercials, but I think Grant Cardone has kind of positioned himself as the man when it comes to just marketing on the internet. So
Yeah, I think he's got the most Grant Cardone, that is, has the most success in like real world success money to go along with his guruship. Like if you're
yeah, he's legit. I mean, so he's not, BSing here. I mean, with the real estate game alone, he's been doing it. But kudos to him, man. So yeah, it can happen. So and he's a twin too. You ever saw an interview of him and his twin?
yeah, yeah, I have.
Yeah, I thought that's cool. I was like, oh, he really is a twin.
There's some interviews with Gary Cardone that
Yeah,
are funny because dude is, you could tell Grant is more of an entertainer.
yeah.
I was listening to Gary on, what was it, the Real Bradley podcast,
Hmm.
and Gary gets in there, it's like, yeah, I mean, attention's one thing. It's cool, but I want all that attention. I want to go to the I want to go to the mall, get a hamburger, and be like, just do whatever the hell I want. Doing $1 million deal. I don't need somebody asking me about my YouTube channel. Okay. So bona fide business, my man, also. But so all these gurus, right? How do we? The story I'm always hearing is, you can find this stuff in the libraries, and people, they're scamming you for your money. And I know a lot. There are stories where people have spent like, tens of thousands of dollars and are still broke. And people are kind of saying, yeah, you just could have got that information from a library. What is it these gurus offer, and like, I guess, where do you draw the line?
Yeah, I mean, I thought that for years, and I mean, recently, be honest with you, recently, I've actually spent some real money on getting some gurus to kind of
Yeah.
assist, and I think the mind shift happened for me was, just looking for something, right? It's just like, hey, I need new thoughts, new ideas, like, to get to that next level, right? And I saw this one guru, Myron Golden. He had this thing called a challenge, and that was back in November. I think you and I talked about why we went off that tact about Grant Cardone because he did this whole reality show, The Billionaire Next Door, and me
Undercover millionaire,
Undercover Billionaire. Thanks,
billionaire.
you.
Yeah.
Billionaire Next Door, Undercover Billionaire. Yes, Undercover Billionaire. And just basically they dropped him in the middle of nowhere, Pueblo, Colorado, and they had 90 days to build $1 million business, right? Not using his name, money, or contacts. And it was just fascinating to see how his little Grant Cardonisms that me and Mr. Benja kind of knew from reading his books, but he also was fascinating when you watch that reality show was his movements, right? What he did, right? What he didn't do. And so that was fascinating. So he kind of, I think that kind of got me on the tick of like, okay, gurus can be helpful, not so much of what they say, but also what they do. Kind of
Mhm.
watch what they do, right? And so for some reason, this one guru it was one of the few black gurus out there, and we'll talk about that in a second. But he kind of popped on my radar. Myron Golden, he talks about business principles from the Bible, and
Mhm.
he's actually based here in Tampa, Florida, where I'm at. So I thought that was kind of
Okay.
interesting. So anyway, I started listening to his stuff. He's older too, And that I said, "Oh, man, this guy is like knows his stuff, from the Bible, but also from just business in general." So this is the first guru I finally opened my wallet and paid a little money to see what he was about. And I was amazed, man. And so going back to your original question, he broke it down. He made a good point. He said the reason why you get a coach or a guru is to go faster. He said, "Look, you're right. All this information is out there. You could probably do it, but it may take you 6 months to finally put it all together. Whereas if you get a guru, they sit down with you for a day. Yes, you're paying money. You could probably have all that knowledge in a day, right? Because they'll either A, do it for you, or tell you should give you the tools and stuff like that, and what didn't work, what does work, why this works so much faster. So usually people pay because he said it's really, people say time is money. In his mind, he said, look, time is way more valuable than money. He said, so if you're an entrepreneur and you're trying to, you want to go fast, then you rather pay, what it takes to go fast. And that's why you bring in a coach or guru. And that kind of shifted my mind. He's like, oh, he's right.
Yeah, that I got choked up over that sentence. That makes a lot of sense, and, I'll confess it because of my creative background, it took me too long to fully embrace what the gurus were going after and how to, like, look past the scamalicious nature of a lot of it. Because you can find yourself just broke and you're looking for a magic bullet or something, and I think that I had a switch in my head that flipped when, I was listening to a guy, Dan Locke,
Mm,
and he's making a lot of good points. And while he was making the points, he said, "No, no, you don't get it. One of the things you're learning by getting involved in what I'm doing is you're firsthand experiencing me selling you something, and you can't help but be interested because you're this close to me. And unless you're studying what I'm doing as I'm doing it, as I'm saying it, you're missing out."
mm.
And he kind of looked at everybody in the room. It's like, I haven't said anything groundbreaking. Nevertheless, we're 45 minutes into this and you all are on the edge of your seats. And I'm on the edge of my seat in my in my studio looking at YouTube. I'm like, holy crap, he's right. Whatever he said or didn't say, I was stuck there the whole time. I started fighting back like, nah, this is just mental trickery, psychology. And there is that in there, right?
Yeah, of course, yeah.
But I was looking at it, I was like, no, this guy knows what he's talking about. And the important part is if I can use that power for good, what could I accomplish? I was dead serious about it because I'm not trying to, it's what a lot of creators and people get into, or just not even creators, just anybody. It's like, well, I don't want to do this because it's a scam, it's a trick. And it's like, yeah, yeah, that's there. But I take it back to like you were saying with, getting that intense working and going through things fast. My parents used to actually put me into camps. So they would be these really intensive 2 week, 3 week, 1 month weekend getaway, whatever, to learn something. So I
Mhm.
remember I went to this 2 week swimming camp. My cousin taught me to swim, but my mom was like, this boy needs to learn how to really swim. I'm like, I can swim. She's like, no, you thrash. You know, you don't swim. So she put me on like this 2 week intensive training camp for swimming.
Mhm.
And that was like all you did. So you showed up in the morning and they're like, "Hey, everybody." You know, we went out, ate breakfast by the pool while the guy talked. You know, we finished our stuff, went back to the dorm, went back out to the pool, pool safety. And it's like, all right, everybody sit in the pool. He's talking about pool safety while we're sitting in the water. It's like, you couldn't
Mm.
do this in the classroom. It's like every day we got in our trunks, got in the water, and the guy talked to us or showed us stuff. It was so intense for 2 weeks. I had never gotten in and out of the water, and it's so many times in my life, multiple times a day, just getting in and out of the water, getting used
Yeah.
to it, the smells, the feels, the people around you. Man, I mean, at the end of it, it was just like dudes were just little kids who couldn't swim. He's just like, "Hey, listen, I'm gonna jump in the water. They're gonna throw you in the water. I'm gonna catch you. I'm gonna drag you to the other side of the pool. So it's like, yeah, you're throwing kids who can't swim into the deep end, and then the trainer drags them through the water to the other side just to hand show them. It's like, no, 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 you can make it to the other side. I happen to
Mhm.
be here,
Mm.
but let's get you over this fear of
Mhm.
being in the water and swimming all the way to the other side. Man, now I'm like, I mean, decades later, literally, I just kind of think to myself, oh, swimming pool, and flop right in and think back to those 2 weeks that
Mm.
really got me there.
I mean, you hit the nail on the head. I mean, that's what, I mean, a good coach, right? I mean, well, 2 things while you were talking, I think about, sports, right? They have coaches that coach the team, but even individual players, like a great player, LeBron has a, physical coach that's helping them, body parts, get more emotions or, figure out how to, starve off injury. And, of course, they make millions of dollars. It makes sense. But then why don't you do the same thing for your own career or your business, right? Because you can't know everything. You just can't. And so, to your point, having a coach that's giving you two things you need: competence and confidence, right? And they kind of feed off each other. And so, having a coach kind of helps create that feedback for you. So now you have confidence, you can do it, and then you get more competence to have more confidence, and then becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy so that you become stronger and stronger. And really that coach is really making that cycle go a lot faster, right? Because they can kind of give you more confidence because you lean on their confidence, right? They'll say, hey, look, I've done this for like 100 kids before. Oh, okay. So you can be like them, right? Oh, okay. So now you got confidence, right? Then they give you competence, right? They give you little things to show you that you're doing better. Yeah, you're doing great. Keep it up. And so now you're feeding this loop where you become stronger and stronger. And so to me, I think if it's a good coach, right, and yeah, you might be some trash out there, but you'll know because you feel like in your business and your thought processes, you're getting better at something and you're learning mastery because that's what you want. You don't want to just go in there and just, I know a little copywriting or I know, I can dibble and dabble. No,
Yeah.
you have to know it intimately so you don't even think about it, right? So you could just sit down, boom, make it out and keep it moving. And that's what a coach can kind of help you do, right? Just like a baseball player, we're hitting a baseball or basketball player shooting a shot. It's almost got to be unconscious mastery. And I think that's what the coaches, the good ones do are trying to do, right? Especially with your 2 week intensive, like you said, you don't even think about it now, right? It's almost unconscious at this level because you took that intensive coaching that kind of got you to the next level.
Totally. Made me just I didn't realize it at the time, and I look back to that now where it's like I took a heavy dive into, like, certain gurus, like, "Alright, if Grant Cardone's gonna be the thing, let's put it to the test," and I got, like, Sell or Be Sold, Be Obsessed to Be Average,
Mhm.
the 10X Rule,
Same here,
speaking of
brother.
the 10X Mentor, and, yeah, I actually wanted to go through that kind of intensive program, and I even bought some of his materials online, bought the 10X Growth Conference digital pass for 1
Oh,
year.
you didn't go? Okay, I didn't know.
It was one of the digital passes, right? And just seeing the people in the comments, it's like, okay, there's that sense of community.
Mhm.
And, you have a thing that says, hey, show up now for this webinar or you're a punk. Yeah, that's basically what it says, right? And it's kind of like, yeah, you're part of this program. Get in the pool, dog. Get in the pool. And you're like, crap. So, you get in this webinar, you're in the pool, and you're forced to go through this stuff that honestly would have taken me weeks to do myself. Even though there was no reason not to do it,
Yeah.
it's like I had to go download the PDF, print it
Yep.
out. I
Yep.
would have I would have been like, well, I'll do that tomorrow, or oh, it's just a questionnaire. But no, I have a community of people and I'm seeing all the answers fly by, like, you know, all right, this is number one question. If you haven't printed out your PDF, or if you don't have a printer, go to Best Buy, then come right back with the printer and start printing this out because you need to. And I'm like, what the hell is this guy talking about? He's just being loud and rah rah. But I plowed through the little program and was answering all the questions, and it forced me through stuff. So now I'm like, this shit is gold.
Well, and that's what I realized too, man. I mean, like you, I mean, I did this finally did a guru training back in November for they do this thing called challenges, right? It's like 1 week, a whole week, 5 days, hour long session. and
Mhm.
then some homework, some simple homework. And I did it and have a community, and then you got accountability. I even have a still have accountability partner from that experience, and she's in the healthcare field, and we kind of keep each other accountable, which is awesome. Like, did you do your videos like you said? Oh, Theo, you doing a great job. Keep them up. Oh yeah, you too. I see your video. And so to your point, is it almost is forcing you to become better, right? And because not only did you pay a little money to do it, but also, so you're gonna pay attention, but also it encourage you. It's like, hey, there's other people like me, right? That's in this space, and we can kind of go together. So that kind of pivoted into my next big coaching, which is on the social media piece, right? And so this one guy, Ryan Pineda, I just remember watching this guy like years ago, like a couple years ago. He was like, just getting started, and he was a real estate guy out of Las Vegas,
Uh-huh.
doing flipping houses, and I was like, okay. But I kind of like this content. He was kind of like, low key with it. He wasn't really kind of, saying he knew everything. And I kind of liked his affect. And so, I started watching him early on, and then yeah, and then I kind of fell away because he started talking about NFTs, and I was like, I'm not listening to this.
Scam! Scam!
But he sounded like he did well with it. But then it was weird. So after I did the One Guru course, I was like, okay, I got to get on social media now. I got to just get my name out there. And come to find out, Ryan had a program to help entrepreneurs, build out their social media presence. And I said, okay, this is timing. So I just jumped in his program right away. It's been good. I mean, it's more of a mastermind, so a little bit more costly, but I get one-on-one coaching with him and his team. So if
Yeah,
you saw
so
my YouTube.
explain the mastermind concept because that's been around for a while too.
Yeah, it has been, and so this is my first time kinda doing it, but basically, you kinda in a cohort, and you kinda sit down with, you get kinda one-on-one, almost group coaching mostly, but you can get, some one-on-one time with the head guru, if you will, and kinda get, pick their brain on what's successful, what's not, and, they kinda walk you through, how you building towards success. And so, I've been kinda, yeah, I've been kinda enjoying it. So, they've been kinda guiding, if you've seen some of my content out there, you can see, I've gotten some interesting, kinda, you know, got a sense of how it could be, right? Because I learned if I had to do all that on my own, that probably took me about 2 months. Right?
Yeah,
They gave
yeah.
me the content, gave me the content connections to do the editing. They gave me the way to kind of frame everything. They gave me some ideas on how to, set up the content I should talk about. Talking about things like trend jacking, where do content that's based on a trend, like AI, or you do evergreen content, which is based on your niche. And he says, narrow your niche. And so stuff that he did. So, because like I said, I saw Ryan, like, when he was like maybe 100,000 followers. Now he's got like a million followers.
Really? Got
Yes. And
got
so he definitely, so to me, he was the best salesperson because I saw it literally when he kind of built it up. I said, okay, this guy can do it. I mean, and he's at that level now where he's interviewing Grant Cardone. That's when blew my mind. I was like, oh, dude, this dude
uh,
was nobody. Now he's interviewing Grant Cardone and David Bet. We didn't put that, was it David Bet Patrick
Bet David.
Bet David Patrick, yeah. So yeah, so it's yeah. So anyway, he's like I said. So that's kind of like, I kind of went to that path, and then finally, last but not least, I jumped into Russell Brunson's like ClickFunnels kind of a challenge, and so
Yeah.
this is the kind of what would you call him? More of the behind the scenes. Well, not really behind the scenes, but he really kind of was. He was the one that was instrumental in creating all these lead pages to get you to buy all these
Yes.
gurus books. And he was the guy that was selling stuff, crazy off of the internet.
Yeah. Yeah, he Brunson's cool. You know what we should do? We should just kinda go through these and say what we like, what we don't like about them, if they're trash, whatever.
Okay,
Um,
let's do it.
yeah, let's start with Brunson then. What do you guys say about Brunson? Just in general, because
I mean, I kind of was around about him, but really what kind of blew my mind was like, when that Myron Golden talked about him. I mean, I think he was part of Russell's initial mastermind when it was only 30,000. I think it's
Mhm,
like 200,000,
yeah,
250,000 now. But yes, they talk big numbers. So that's what Myron Golden did, and he's got ClickFunnels to kind of start his campaigns. But yeah, I've been impressed. I mean, it's nothing ground shaking. I tried ClickFunnels to do some stuff I wanted to do.
mhm.
ClickFunnels 2.0, it's kind of trash a little bit. I mean, it's not robust. You can tell a marketer made this.
Right, right.
So it's not like, it's gonna set the world on fire. But
But it did
I mean, but
in a
just
way.
in a way, I mean, because I guess he just put a name to this whole system of, collecting emails through lead pages and then, keep bombarding them with emails, right? Basically, till they
Yeah.
buy something. But then, now he created like a name. He calls it a funnel, right? And basically, getting ads to get people into your funnel, which is a lead page usually to get them a lead offer, or you want to give them your core offer, which is a book or something like that, or course, or then you can have a premium ticket or a high ticket, coaching program or something like that. And so he gets all these different ways to kind of do that and marketing, copy, and all that stuff to help people, create these kind of things called lead funnels. And so far, I mean, like I said, I'm impressed by like how to think like a marketer because he has some good insights about simple things like, you want to have a hook, a story, and an offer, right? Whenever you kind of do an ad. And I was like, okay, simple way to remember that. And so he's also got a lot of he's got a lot of connections because he did everything for everybody. So Grant Cardone showed up. I mean, he just had that's a guy from Shark Tank, the brother,
Damon John.
Damon John did something with him. He did Tony Robbins stuff, when he was positioning stuff. So, he's definitely connected.
Okay.
And just learning how he sells too is kind of interesting too, how he sets everything up.
Yeah, so what I would look to Russell Brunson for, and yeah, that's a good thing, dude. I'll throw a little bit of what I like, what I don't like. What I liked about him was definitely the way his whole speaking setup is literally like a sales funnel. There's the
Mm,
headline opening, the hook point really quick, then the myths like, hey, you think that's all wrong. You're like, oh, what's wrong with it? Well, it's this, this, and this. So he has this whole setup down, and his call to actions are pretty powerful. And I remember he's just really good for understanding that whole sales pitch very quickly.
mhm.
And that's what sales funnels do, and that's what ClickFunnels, his multi-million-dollar company, is about.
Yeah.
So he's all right. He's cool. I
Have you
I I,
played with ClickFunnels at all?
I think ClickFunnels is a bit overblown for my purposes, because you can set up a lead page where you're collecting email, and if they didn't respond in 5 minutes, you can have them send an email, hey, listen, this offer expires in 10 minutes. You can set up all these weird connections. It's extremely complicated to where
Mm,
it starts segmenting the audiences, A/B testing, follow-ups. So that's where the power of ClickFunnels lies
mhm,
in managing all of that. But for the most part, there are pages out there where you just have a simpler or a much more scaled down version of ClickFunnels, like a Sam Cart. I think
mhm.
leadpages.com is now another site or whatever. But yeah, I think it's cool. You just don't need all that for the most part.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I try to do my video sales letter. So basically, you have a video, call it case study that you do, and then you have a application that people fill out for like a high ticket offer. I try to do that in like Photos 2.0. I'm sorry, we don't have a form ready to go to collect this information. I said, what? So I just went to WordPress, created it, and did WP forms, and I was good.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
So I was
So
like, ClickFunnels, I love you. So anyway, all right, you want
uh,
to keep moving?
yeah, Gary V, the loud mouth on the scene. I don't mean that in a
Yeah.
bad way, but he is.
You still listen to him every now and then?
Yeah, you know what's I actually yesterday I actually went back and listened to a piece from 2019, and it's so appropriate to today. And I'm like,
Wow.
this guy is still on it. So basically, I think he's good for understanding where attention is going.
Mm,
So if you watch what he does and you're looking at how he's garnering attention, that's pretty much going to be the way that everybody else is going to be garnering attention as well. So he's definitely
interesting.
good for figuring out what's current.
Yeah, and to his point, he was early to this game of, I think he had a book called,
Crush it.
what was it? No, it
Crushing it.
was, yeah, Crush It, Crushing It. Yeah, I mean, that was just about examples of how you can do it on the internet. But it was called Jab,
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 jab.
Jab, Hook.
Yeah.
Yeah. And he was the first to kind of say, look, don't sell every time you talk to folks. And, that was the first time I ever heard that, right? And he said, look, put the content out, give them information. And he said, the longer you kind of hold that hook, when you try to offer something, the more powerful it is. And so I was like, "Woo," that blew my mind. And now everybody, a lot of folks are realizing that, when you get to a certain level, you can sell all the time. You said, "No, we can't. We just got to build." The audience got to see so much value. Is that, and he talks about this. Gary Vee was the first one to kind of realize that you give so much value that, if you just ask for one little thing, it's not even a big ask to them. It's like, "Oh yeah, I'll pay you $100. You gave me so much for free. Why not?" So yeah,
Yeah.
good stuff.
Kind of I won't say breaks, but evolve the mold of the mode of thinking of always be selling.
Yes.
Uh,
And I think, and Grant Cardone and Ryan Pineda had that conversation. It says better to be a marketer now than a seller
mhm.
because of where everything's at. So, but yeah,
Yeah, and he's got nothing to sell. He's just basically building his name. So
yeah,
as he builds his name, his other companies get money. So unless you're talking about VFriends, which is I think his pretty much only relevant consumer based product.
yeah, yeah. Good point.
So yeah, I think he's worth listening to. Patrick Bet David.
Yeah. I mean, just, a solid business guy. I mean, I don't think he's gives anything like super insightful, but he's always giving you entertainment. He calls it valuetainment. And, I think he has some insights just on the world in general, coming from Iran. And I think I kind of, I bought his book, Your Next Five Moves, last
Mm,
year. So, it was stuff I knew, but it was good to kind of get his perspective. He gives me things like, speed. He talks about speed, that's how you know someone's serious, how fast they go and things like that. So, yeah, he's good, for interviews too. He's pretty good. So, I mean, I'm not saying anything bad or good. I don't think it's not. I guess he was one of the early ones out there, so that's probably why. I mean, he was doing interviews with like Kobe and Shaq. I mean, way before
yeah.
folks were doing that. Who he did one with Kevin Hart too. So he's big time.
Yeah, definitely. He's one of the guys I listened to the Kobe interview. That's how I pretty much decided he was worth listening to.
Yeah, same
I
here.
was like, and I realized he was playing the attention game when he did that. I was like, this is what Gary Vee was talking about. Like when Gary Vee was saying, interview, the guy, the neighborhood pizza store owner. I realized that's what Patrick Bet David was doing, just on a much higher scale.
Absolutely,
You know,
absolutely. So he got the attention. That's for sure.
exactly. Conspiracies. So he's all about the,
Yeah, that's a
just
good
talking
point.
random stuff. So, but
Yeah, getting that attention going and stuff like that. I think he even sold his company recently. That's the last I heard. So you talked about the other guy so Patrick Bet David came from insurance. Then the other guy you talked about, the real Brad Lee, didn't he come from insurance as well? I kind of heard about him recently.
did he come from insurance? I don't know. He was really good friends with Grant Cardone and helped Grant Cardone set up his whole training platform because
Oh,
Grant Cardone's all about sales training.
mhm.
Bradley owns the company that built out Grant Cardone's sales training platform.
Oh, I didn't know that. Okay. So Brad Lee is more like a seller, like a sales guy. That's his
He,
claim to fame.
he was. Now he's still working on this, getting everybody's talking about virtual training and all that. So he basically sells to businesses. It's like, hey, if you have your whole business and you want them all to train on a certain software product, you use my system.
Mhm.
So he uses his platform to kind of sell his system to other businesses. So yeah, Bradley, I guess we can. Yeah, he's all right. A lot of people don't like him because he's one of those cigar smoking, you know,
Yeah.
steak steak and eggs for breakfast with a beer kind of guys. So yeah, I'll, I'll put him down. Bradley, he's cool, but he's more of a talk host than a actual I'm going to
Yeah.
teach you something guy.
You know what? And I was just adding two more folks here. I won't put them in that list. Meet Kevin and then Boyce Watkins. I mean, they come up with some, financial stuff every now and then, but they're more like entertainment kind of speakers, so not really gurus. But during the pandemic, I watched a lot of Meet Kevin. I don't know if you saw his stuff, and then
Never heard of this guy.
yeah, he was doing a lot of stock stuff, and that's kind of when I got into that. And then Boyce Watkins, from the black standpoint, he giving you stock tips, but and then also giving you, some tea on the black culture. So, so
I saw Boyce Watkins live.
no, where was this?
Yeah, he came out to LA and he was at the African American Cultural Center or something.
That's right. You did tell me that. Yeah.
And I'm like, Boyce Watkins. That's the guy talking that black stuff. Yeah, all right. And that's how I found out about him because I was into the blackosphere at the time. Black Lives Matter was popping off. And it was even before that though, actually. But yeah, I heard about him, said I'm gonna go down to this cultural center. And yeah, man. He gets up there, he's like, "Hey, everybody, there are a lot of black people who need to get their shit together. Let me start talking about that. So, how
Yeah,
come you
yeah,
have
yeah.
this business and how come you're not?" So, he was basically saying, you need to get your business together, and if you're black, you need to understand these things. And he's got solid information, but his entertainment side kind of veers off into other
Yeah, I
stuff.
know.
And you're like, come on, though. Come on, though.
I know. Well, he's a PhD in finance. He'll let you know that like every episode. So don't get it twisted.
Yeah.
I'm the only PhD from Purdue, in finance, black finance PhD. But so he knows his stuff. He's got tons of his. But it's funny. It's like I saw Myron go there. It's so funny. It's like I'm trying to figure out what Myron did that made me buy his stuff because I listen to all these other gurus. I never bought their stuff. Well, I take that back. I did buy Kevin's stuff. He had like a stock course, like 80, $60, and I bought it, so my family and I could, learn about stocks. Because he had a lot of content, me, Kevin, about like stocks at the time and Tesla and stuff like that. So I mean, he did know what he was talking about, but he was just all over the place, and he started getting into politics. And I don't know if you saw this guy, me, Kevin. He was trying to run for governor for a second of California. It was like, dude, what are
He
you
is
doing?
he is listed as a landlord influencer. Yo, I don't trust this meat Kevin guy. He may be great, but he's definitely got the car salesman, insurance
Yeah.
sales
Yeah.
kind of
Well,
look
you
and
know what his
smile.
claim to fame was? Go look him up. Kevin, me, Kevin, and Grant Cardone. He did some practical jokes on Grant Cardone back in the day. And that's kinda got him, I think he said some flowers or some stupid stuff just to gain attention. That kinda helped him. That was pre-pandemic. And then,
Yeah.
the pandemic helped him get to the next level.
Okay. Who else we got?
Let's
Speaking
see.
of this, since we talked about Grant Cardone a lot. You know what, man? I still got to go back to Dog because he's just I don't know. He's the one. If anybody on this list, that I would hands down say there's stuff you can learn from this guy. I'm not even sure I would like hanging out with him. He's intense, man. It's like I don't know if I could take him all day, but I'm like, someone called me intense, and I'm like, huh, okay, maybe and then got a little softer heart for Grant Cardone, just being all energetic and doing his thing. But for his books alone, 10X Rule, Sell or Be Sold, and Be Obsessed or Be Average, for those three alone, it's like some groundbreaking stuff in terms of breaking through your mental barriers.
Yeah. I mean, I would agree. I mean, I mean, he's entertainment as hell too. Let's be honest. I mean, look, he's got that Louisiana accent. Man, there's no money in your couch, just the stuff he says and just, it's just, yeah. I mean, that's half the battle with this thing, right? It's just, are you entertaining too? Yeah. And I think he's got a mix of both. And now he's on a whole nother level. I think he's trying to be the bank, right? He's got real estate and he's got his, capital company. It's funny. We'll get into Ryan Pineda. I think Ryan Pineda is trying to copy everything he's doing. So it's interesting to see. But yeah, so that's kind of, Grant. But I didn't know he partners so much with folks. So at first I thought he
Oh
was kind of
yeah.
like on this island, but now I'm realizing, man, he is like connected to almost everybody. So
Well, let me use that connection to bring up the next guy, Frank Kern. Do you know who this is?
no.
So Frank Kern is a guy actually from La Jolla in San Diego, where I was saying that this guy he's an old surfer type dude, likes to remain underground, but he basically came up with the winning formula for getting online, going omnipresent, setting up Facebook ads, talking to people. And he set all this up. And there's this old conference thing from sales a long time ago. I got to look it up, but he was like, listen, we're in a new era. Here's how you can set up your whole sales talk to people and have it work online. Talk to them, get their email. And it sounded basic at first, but then you started to notice, okay, here's where people screw up. Here's where they do something wrong. Here's where they go different. Here's where you need to do what's not quote unquote appropriate. And he's one of those guys he's not trying to be loud and flashy, which was interesting to me,
Mhm.
but he worked with Grant Cardone and set a lot of his stuff up. So Grant was like, "Hey, I'm just out here talking loud online." And Frank was like, "Yeah, you can target what you're doing a lot better. Let me show you
Mm.
how." and he showed him how to figure out, like, okay, when it comes New Year's time, 2 weeks before that, you start doing some New Year's stuff and put this out and attach that to a product. So you have your entertainment and your product going out at the same time in parallel. And he just set a lot of this stuff up that people are using now. And he sells his services to people like Grant Cardone, Ty Lopez, and so forth, where it's like, hey,
Interesting.
you think you're just talking. I can show you how to actually make this work and get all of your energy to synergize. So a lot of these people are playing from Frank Kern's playbook.
Oh, thanks, man. I'll check them out. Okay, so many gurus.
Yeah.
Even the
But he
gurus have even the gurus have gurus they use that that we don't even know.
Yeah, a lot of these people aren't, like, good at the internet. Frank was the guy who taught them how to be good at the internet.
You think he taught Russell too?
Russell kinda came about it his own way with his own
Mhm.
ClickFunnels thing, so I don't know if they've ever had any connections, but yeah, Russell,
Well,
another behind the
Russell
scenes
Russell
guy.
Russell is, connected to Dan Kennedy, and he wrote the Ultimate Sales
Okay.
Letter, and that guy was connected to Tony Robbins, and so but Dan Kennedy kinda created this whole copywriting thoughts, right? And I think, Russell kinda connected with him, but Russell is good about partnering too, so
Yeah, Frank Kern came up with omnipresence, if you wanna know. If
get
everybody
outta
uses
here.
that word, he actually
Yeah.
coined that phrase. He's like, "You gotta be omnipresent." I was like, "What do you mean?" "Everywhere, all the time, in their face, on all platforms." "How do you even
Oh,
do that?"
wow.
It's like, "I got you, dog."
Okay. Yeah, see? There's so many gurus I didn't know. Alright, we're gonna get to the brothers
Uh,
and the sisters.
yeah, yeah, let's go through them real quick. Everybody knows Damon John, right?
Yeah.
Shark Tank.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah. Yeah, I mean, I haven't seen, sure. I haven't listened to his stuff, but have you? He say anything interesting?
No, he honestly seems rather basic,
Yeah.
and, from his books that I've read, it's solid basic information, but he did pretty much come from nothing, so he
I
knows
mean,
how
he
to.
did build a billion-dollar business, a clothing brand in the early '90s that, so that is, I mean, he's got bona fides. Unlike some
Yeah,
of the rappers, out here running their mouths. I mean, they got a little money now, but 50
yeah.
Cent or Rick Ross, sure, you guys are making a little money now, but come on.
Yeah, it's funny, I think he's an actual business person as opposed to a marketer salesman. I think
Yeah.
he understands well, that's why he's on Shark Tank, he's breaking down deals and everything. I think he's stronger there than actually talking, so
Yeah, and I think he also understands, like you said, operations, which is a big component because I mean, he had to
yeah.
understand distribution lines for his clothing line, negotiation with vendors, partners. So yeah, he does this stuff.
Alright, and talk about your friend Myron Golden.
Yeah, have you checked out any of his stuff?
I like him. He's easy to listen to. I think that's that old, older man, Southern black
Yeah.
church activist kind of, I listen to him and I'm like, what psalm should I turn to? Open up my Bible to Psalms chapter 47.
hmm
But he's easy to listen to.
Yeah.
So I'm cool with him. I like him.
Yeah. Yeah. Me too.
Yeah. Who
What you
else we
got
got?
next?
Leslie. You know her?
I don't.
So she's like the when people talk about selling courses, they're probably following Danielle Leslie's blueprint because she worked for teachable.com back in the day,
Yeah.
and she started doing Skillshare, she started doing, all the different course platforms, and she started, like, realizing, "Hey, wait a minute. I'm doing so well with these courses. I could sell courses." And, she looked around and not many people were really selling courses. So she started selling courses on how to sell courses. And everybody's like, "Oh crap, somebody knows how to sell courses. Let's go to her." And she
hmm
blew up, starting her own platform, became a multimillionaire quickly, very organized, very like when I say organized, she talks kind of light and airy when she's just, doing her social media. But I
hmm
looked into some of her products and she's like cracking her knuckles, like, okay, you're gonna want to go open up Excel and start filling out these forms. And that I'm like, whoa, whoa, this shit, she knows what she's talking about, calendars and timing. And yeah, so
Have you
she,
took in one of her courses or tried her stuff out?
I got some of her early products, and it was like a very introductory kind of thing. Like,
Yeah.
if you want the basics of building a course, here's my Black Friday sale, $10. Just read through it and kind of understand what you're getting into. And I was like, okay, cool. So I haven't spent much on her, but because I'm not that interested in making a course that I spent that much money on it.
Yeah.
But that's her thing.
Okay. Yeah, I'm looking at it, and obviously, she's targeting women, so that helps. So, but
Mhm.
no, good for her, man. Yeah. So I didn't know you forgot David Shands. You got any thoughts on him?
He's new to the game,
Yeah.
and he's definitely for the entry level podcaster, media production guy for podcasting and media production. He's just focusing on people early on in their podcast venture. Like, hey, I can show you how to do this and that. He's good. He's cool. He's very inquisitive. So if you ever listen to him, he really knows how to ask questions and find out things. And that's one of the reasons I started listening to him was just to find out how to talk with people, question people, get information out of them in a productive business way.
Mhm, mhm. Yeah, yeah, he has his offer is basically an accountability program where you go on Instagram. So one of my accountability partners, she says she's joined up for that, and so like she said, every day, you got to say the one thing you're going to get done today, and then everybody pings you throughout the day. Did you get that done?
Yeah.
So yeah, the morning meetup, and so yeah, I was like, that's not too much accountability. I'm good. Once a week is fine. But
Yeah.
I get it. It's, some people need it. And then, along that line, Ash Cash, he's kind of similar, kind of new to the game, but he's kind of associated with those, earn your leisure guys. He does live interviews and, he's trying to get his name out there. I think he came from banking.
Mhm.
I'm always curious where these guys come from first, to kind of
Yeah.
get a sense of what they know. And so
Oh,
yeah.
David Shands came from, he keeps saying he came from, what's that place? The Cheesecake Factory?
I wouldn't doubt it. So,
Yeah. But he actually pivoted into event spaces. So
okay. Yeah, that's the other guy. I can't remember his name. Is it Nehemiah? Is that his name? I don't know if you saw him.
Nehemiah Davis.
Yeah, I ran into him actually on the Humble. I was in Atlanta in the Delta Club or something, and I was talking to a guy. I think he was listening to my presentation or to some investor. He said, "What do you do?" I said, "This way." He said, "What do you do?" He said, "Does investments." I said, "Okay, we should connect." And I didn't know he was big time like that. So, but
Yeah.
yeah, he's doing this thing too. But yeah, these newer black guys, man, I'm impressed, man. And then ultimately, we just skip down to like earn your leisure guys. I mean, those guys are really the probably the apex. I mean, you put me onto them early on. They were kind of inspiration too, a little bit for this podcast. Two brothers just sitting talking the shit, and they were an anchor. Remember back in the day, and
Mhm.
kind of just had some content out, and they just some financial literacy. And yeah, now they got a big conference. They can get anybody show up. They got, who they have come up, Steve Harvey and other folks. People swear by them. So it's gonna be interesting. All these gurus that kind of blew up during the pandemic and then Clubhouse. Do you
That's a
think
good
you
point.
think they have longevity?
Well, I mean, they had the ability to get the audience. Now, can they keep their audience?
Yeah.
And can they multiply on top of their audience? That's a good question. Neo has set himself up as one of the, I don't want to say, he's one of the big dogs, and he puts people underneath him. So he's got this thing called the circle of CEOs.
Hmm.
So he's making all these connections and pulling everybody along with him. So even if he's not like the greatest or whatever, he's like, if you're not under my umbrella or in my little network, you're missing out. So I think that's a very interesting thing that he does that's unique to him, where it's like, hey, let's go to a conference. It's like, is Neo going to be there? It's
Mm.
very interesting. I don't even know what to call that with him. Just
Mm. Interesting. Yeah. I mean, I think that's important. You gotta have an infrastructure in place that you can talk about, different things that you start to expand out and keep your audience. But I mean, earn your leisure guys, I mean, they're always putting folks on there. I mean, even if the stock market is down, they talk what's that guy, Ian? They talk on Market Mondays. They're still talking about stuff, but they're bringing in other entrepreneurs to talk about different angles, obviously Airbnb arbitrage or I saw somebody in the healthcare space. I said, "Oh, I need to talk to him." Or someone had a trucking business, right?
yeah.
So they're really good at, just find all these little niches that they can just, use their platform to, and expose people to. So I think
Yeah,
that's pretty interesting.
I will say they definitely pioneered for anybody the podcast network model that works for this type of thing.
Point.
There are other podcast networks out there, but it's like with Earn Your Leisure, and Keys, I Am Ash Cash,
Yeah, they're all under them. You're right. Good point.
very early on, they started the EYL network. And I was like, oh, okay. And, you've seen other things like Drink Champs and
Joe Budden. Well, did Joe Budden did he do a network?
I don't know, but you've got these other big guys. And that makes sense because they come from, Revolt
Entertainment.
TV or
Yeah, entertainment.
from
Yeah.
these large conglomerations. And EYL kind of came from nothing, like two
Came
guys
from nothing. Yeah,
like
literally. And
talking to kids in a classroom about finance. They started recording those discussions about talking to kids on finance and talking to adults and then holding events and showing up at places, then having interviews with powerful people.
yeah.
Next thing you know, like they were doing networks and I was like, why are you doing a network? Why are you doing an online university? And, they would bring somebody on and in the middle of their discussion, they're like, yeah, yeah. So when you came to our online university, hey, everybody, go to, EYL Online University and you can hear this whole discussion. I was like, huh, they're setting this stuff up even before it happens. So very, very good guys.
Yeah, yeah, and then, merch, the assets over liabilities merch and,
Yep.
stuff like that. They're really good at just branding and getting their name out there. So yeah, it'll be interesting, but, they have that network. It'll be interesting to see. I mean, they still have live courses and stuff like that. So we'll see. I mean, yeah, they're very popular. So, all right, what else we got here? Did you wanna say anything about David Grace or 2? Your
Yes,
buddy?
I do. Derek Grace too is one of the foundational guru types in my journey. This guy, s- somebody was saying, "Wow, you're online, you're talking to people, you're doing all this. Where are you getting your inspiration from?" And because I was being an idiot in the moment, and I just wanted to say my actual thoughts. I said, "Oh yeah, this guy Derek Grace too," and I'm like, "Oh wait, no, don't look him up, don't look him." And then they looked him up, and while we were talking, they kind of looked at me like, "What? This? Are you kidding me?" And he's almost. I would put him high on the scam list.
Aw,
The scam level. He knows how to market. He's very low budget. He's extremely catchy when
yeah,
you're into his vibe, and he's got a lot of stuff together. But for a long time during he had this thing called the post Trump pack,
mhm.
and you jump on, and he was like, "Hey, bro, you just need to get on this, man, and you need to go ahead and buy that post Trump pack." You jump to the website, it's like $1,000, and which is fine for whatever he's selling, but the way he was putting it out there, I think a lot of people just got kind of balled into his, "Okay, I gotta buy this," and I'm like, "You haven't looked around, you don't know what you're buying into, chill out for 1 second." But Derek Grace is like it's like, "Hey, man, this thing's on sale for, you know, for for $200 for the next hour," and you're like, "Oh, crap." And then you
Mm,
go to the website and it's like about $1,500 where he's like, "Hey man, this thing just costs way too much, man. It's too much good information. So we bumped the price up to $1,500 and we threw in this little add-on." And it was so interesting because a lot of the stuff he was doing, aside from being extremely interesting to watch, he was just hitting you so hard. He was the first guy who I really saw hit people hard with like standing outside the pool with his gut hanging out. You've seen him, right?
yeah, well, give everybody a complete description of this guy with the tattoos on the face and
Uh,
the teeth. I mean, I mean, you know who you're looking at when you kind of scroll. I mean, he's an attention game, and so if you're scrolling his face on Instagram or Insta
yeah,
or TikTok, you know who you're seeing.
yeah, definitely. He's got he's got these channels that he puts out, like, he's got a board game that he sells.
Mhm.
He does his father does security, so he helps run his father's security company. They sell guns. You'll have to find out how to buy those on your own. He doesn't really push that, that's what I'm saying, but it's
Yeah.
kind of this, like, if you really wanna know what I'm about, I run this gun store, check it out. And yeah, in terms of getting attention, showing his kids that he homeschools, he has a homeschooling course. He put me on a lot of ideas, and I'm not saying that you should like the guy, and it's very easy to get caught up in his "You gotta buy this now," you know, kind of rhetoric. So you have to stop and say, "Wait a minute, is this for me? Do I need this?" And he's connected too, so all these guys know him like pretty intimately.
Yeah, I mean, how I knew him, he was on Earn Your Leisure, so, yeah. So, he's definitely connected, so interesting. Okay, so moving on. So the guy I've been kind of bringing up a lot is Ryan Pineda. He was the one that I talked about earlier. So high level, I like him. I joined his mastermind on how to build a social media following as a business owner. So and really, what I'm impressed with is his speed. I mean, this guy is literally in everything. Even before he even got on the scene, he already had like 4 businesses that he had started running already.
Mm.
He had, the flipping business, the real estate company, he had a tax company, he had an education company, and then, he got online and that just took him to the next level, right? So everything this guy has done, he's just been successful, right? And so he even told us, getting some insight already, that what he's doing now is kind of getting out his niche of real estate. That's why he opened this thing called, he has a new brand called Wealthy Creator. He's trying to bring in his faith conversations into it, and so he can have a bigger presence. But more importantly, he's trying to get out of the real estate niche because now he's bringing companies like mine into this space. So eventually, he can start acquiring them, right? And so he's already thinking like 3 or 4 steps ahead and just kind of following his speed. I mean, literally in the 2 months I've been with him, I seen he change the name of the course I was in. It was Content Empire, and he changed it to Wealthy Creator. He got a book out. He had a conference. He did 2 interviews with like big time people like Liver King and Grant Cardone. And yeah, this dude moves, man. He's just moving. And so that's what I'm impressed. And even talking to his team, they kind of explained that. Said, yeah, that's just Ryan. He's just like, I mean, he's always moving. They say, look, he'll establish something, make sure he's got the right people in place at a high level, and he's off to the next thing. And so
I
yeah,
think
I'm learning a lot
I
from
think
him.
that's what turned me off from him. He seemed so, I don't wanna say just fast, but it didn't seem like he was
Mm.
grounded anywhere.
Yeah, that could be a turn off. I would say that, but what he kind of gave me a recommended book called Traction. They talked about the entrepreneurial operating system where you put in operating managers in place in all your different businesses, and they run the day to day, and you're more like the vision, and that's what I'm trying to do with my business now, right? I'm trying to once I get the my co-founder, he kind of runs a lot of operations now. I'm trying to just finish up the marketing and the sales piece, and then once that's, I have the sales folks in place, then I can just be high level marketing and I can do other stuff. So that's kind of the vision. I mean, he's kind of got me on that path there. But to your point, he can come off a little all over the place. But who doesn't at this point?
Yeah, yeah, none of these guys are perfect by any means, and you probably shouldn't listen to everything they say, but
No,
because they're moving fast and because they're out there on the cutting edge, there is stuff to learn from them. So
exactly.
I'll
Yeah.
I'll check him out some more.
Yeah.
But you mentioned he was doing acquisitions, so that brought me up to Alex Hormozy from acquisitions.com, which he says all the time.
And I have nothing to sell you. Well, you used to say that, yeah. But yeah, how'd you come about him?
I had a book of his, the $100 million offers.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Yeah.
I was gonna order that. I actually listened to the video course he had,
Mhm.
and I listened to a lot of YouTube videos, so I got a lot of his knowledge from that. So what'd you think?
I liked it. Here's the thing. I got onto a lot of these people before I heard about them as gurus or
Mhm.
online. What I was doing was finding interviews from Grant Cardone, or people who've done things. I was just listening to interviews, and anytime they said, "Yeah, I read this book,
Mm.
about offers, about $100 million offers," I would stop right there and say, "Okay, these people have invested interest in something that somebody else said or did. Let me go look that person up." And then I'll look up that person and find out, okay, what did that person look into or who do they recommend? And this is how I'm finding a lot of these people. It's like, who do the experts look
Yeah,
to as other experts? And I forgot who said it, but this was before Alex Hormozy decided to do his social media
yeah,
marketing thing.
push.
Yeah. Somebody said there's this, I was looking up offers because I was trying to figure out, how do you sell somebody that you never met a, $5,000 painting?
Yeah.
And you're just some scruffy looking artist who is standing around next to Faisal and it's like, okay, how do I get this person to believe? And I was looking up information on offers and some guy said, "Hey, well, I don't care what type of offers you're doing. You need to look into this book, $100 million offers." So I was like,
Mhm.
hmm. And it was Alex Hormozy's book. So that's how I got on him.
Well, that's interesting, man. Yeah, I mean, I only got onto him because I just heard people talking about him so much, and I started seeing this content with interviews because I guess he was releasing the book. And so I started doing a deep dive on him, man, and the dude knows his stuff. I mean, so his background is you seen him, he looked like, a meathead, he was all into gym. I mean, that was his
Yeah.
first company claim to fame was Gym Launch. And he, built all these first he was going to build, own all these gyms. And then I guess he met Russell Brunson. He was in his mastermind group
Yeah.
and changed his mind. He's going to license it. And so that's what took him to the next level and sold his business in like 4 years. And but of all the gurus, man, he breaks it down to
Yeah.
exactly how you do it. And I've never seen anyone do it to that level where he even breaks down like the offer play, like,
Yeah.
why you have bonuses, why you have scarcity, why you do add-ons, right? You're gonna do it anyway. So just tell him it's an add-on. Then he'll break down like all the different ways you can kind of position an offer to make it attractive enough that anyone will buy it. And I was like,
Yeah.
wow.
Which is, I think he's similar in vibe to Grant Cardone, except he comes from like you said, break it down first. Grant will come to you from the, hey, you need to be doing this and this. What's wrong with you? Get in the game. Get excited.
Mhm.
Get hyped, dog. And then when you press him, he'll say, okay, here's why. Alex does it the other way, where he presents the information. Hey, you need to do this, this, and this, and this, and this, and this, and this. And the guy's like, oh yeah. He's like, no, you need to do it now. And then he gets hyped. So I kind of see them as two
Mm, 2
sides of the
sides of
same
the same
coin.
coin. And he even says, I mean, and he just says he bought all these gurus, right? He spent time with Grant. He said he bought Russell stuff, right? So he's, to come up with his philosophies, he's done all that, right? And so to me, I always thought that was kind of interesting. He said the best investment you can make, just like a lot of folks, is in yourself because he talks what skill stacking, right? He's a big believer in
Mhm.
that. You have your character traits, you have your skills and you have your beliefs and you got to you got to kind of build them all at the same time so you can get higher and higher levels. And so anyway, so I thought some of the concepts he comes up with is like pretty good. And so yeah, I went deep dive in it, but really I love how he kind of thinks about offers because I'm trying to create some high ticket offers in my business, and that's really what's got me excited about, oh, I could make this a little bit more attractive. So anyway, so yeah, I really like him. I mean, and then the fact that he has nothing to sell me unless you want to sell your business to him.
Yeah.
But you got at least make, several $1,000,000 in revenue and he'll come in and do some stuff. But good for him. So yeah, and the fact that he actually could have been, you know, he was consultant, I think he was going his way to get an MBA, right? And so I did an MBA, I did all that stuff. So he comes from he's not one of these entrepreneurs, like, that's all they had to they could, like, you
Yeah.
hear a Grant story, you hear even what's his name, Ryan Pineda, he was a failed baseball player, right? All these entrepreneurs, they were like nobodies, right? They had nothing else to do
Yeah.
but be entrepreneur. This guy literally coulda did something else, right? But he decided down this path, and so he comes to it a little bit more intellectual, which I like. And another person who's like that, young lady, you ever heard of Kobe? I can't remember her last name, but,
Cody Sanchez.
yeah, Cody Sanchez. He's very similar, where she came from the business world, and now she's all about selling, like, these boring businesses or how you can make millions off of them. So that's her claim to fame. So yeah, so I like guys who kind of like me. I went to school a lot. I kind of have that corporate vibe still about me, but they, chose entrepreneurship. So Alex is like that to me.
Yeah. Yeah. All these guys are extreme turnoffs in terms of, they're doing their marketing thing. It's like a lot of times when you first run into them, you're like, are you kidding me? Like, how do I, like Derek Grace, or how do I not know this isn't some bum? And that's some bum talking noise. And that's the hard part where it's like, okay, I have to actually sit down and discern who you are. In fact, if I was if I was back in my stand-up comedy days, I'd go through and just like Frank Kern, Surfer, bum, don't listen to him. Alex Hormozy, musclehead, steak eating bum, don't listen to him. Derek Mason, tattooed random from
Rando.
yeah, don't listen to this guy. Yeah, Grant Cardone, car salesman, old guy, don't listen to him. Yeah, there's just I'm sorry, it just stuck out to me.
I mean, yeah, no. Well, speaking of which, the ultimate of all these kind of bums, man, but did a lot of little stuff was Ty Lopez, man.
Ooh,
He took the
from
internet
my
by
garage.
storm. Hey guys, look at me. I got this car.
Here
And
I
you know
am
how I
in my
did that?
garage.
In my garage. And all he did this, reading all these books.
You know, it amazed me how so many people had seen that ad. That ad hit YouTube like nothing else, like,
When
no one
did
had
it come out? Do you remember when it came out around?
oh, we can look that up. If you search
Yeah.
here in my garage, there's just so much on it.
I mean, he took the internet by storm, man, and it was like I think he was one of the first ones to kinda really push YouTube marketing like that, and, yeah,
Yeah,
he
that was
blew up, man.
2015.
Wow, yeah, yeah, that was early
Yeah,
days.
because he did a few things in there where there's kind of this entertainment version. He was totally doing the sales thing where it's like, "Hey, if you could get what I have too if you just listen to me. Not if you do this, if you listen to me," which brought you into his funnel, his inner circle, right?
Mhm.
Where it was like, "Hey, you're not here to buy a product necessarily. You're here to follow me." So he was starting to kind of get into that with,
Mm.
"Hey, here in my garage, just looking over at all these books I've read and how much information I have stored in my brain. Don't mind the Lamborghini. I just bought that last week." Whatever.
Yeah, just that low key, I'm balling, but even though he rented it, anyway, so it was one of those things that was, you were like, "Is this real or what is this guy selling?" It was kinda
Yeah.
weird.
And it was so it also did the low key thing where it's like he just had his cell phone. It was kind of grainy footage,
Yes.
you know. So you're like, two things are hitting you. It's like who has all these books and a Lamborghini in their garage, and at the same time is filming it on a cell phone with a bad angle. And he didn't look like salesman-y, attractive kind of, you know, really smile, "Hey, everybody, I'm doing this and this." He was so low key. You're like, "Hold on, this is interesting." And he had a number of attempts, but I think this is the one. Well, obviously, this is the one that really knocked it out the park. So he's on to doing other things. What'd you have to say about him? Because you brought him up.
Well, you're just talking about folks, just being kinda scam artists a little bit like that. I mean, there's some suspiciousness about him, and he came I think the last thing I heard, I mean, he's going back out there again. I don't know what he's selling now, but, like, maybe even a year ago, he's talking about he's gonna buy all these he had bought Bad Bed from Beyond and some other bad businesses.
He bought Pier
P1.
One, Radio
Now
Pier One Imports, Radio Shack, Steinmart.
did
Those
he
are the ones I
buy them or he just had, like, a license agreement with them?
no. So the brands were doing very poorly. And, he left the stores alone. He left a lot of the stores to be held by whoever.
Yeah.
But what he was making a deal was to control the front end of the brand and
Okay,
control the e-commerce of the brands. So
okay.
effectively, he owns those brands. Does I'm not sure how the deal works exactly with the physical institutions that are still hanging around.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not sure if they went through and wholesale destroyed every Steinmart out there.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
if you go to one of the stores and there's steinmart.com, now you're under now you're under Ty Lopez's handiwork. He was a Shopify early pioneer expert where he was figuring stuff out with Shopify and drop shipping and
Oh,
all that
really?
stuff.
Okay.
Yeah, so he kind of figured out, oh, well, if I can do that and I'm just some rando, what if I could do that with an established brand like Radio Shack? So if somebody's looking for electronic components and they go to radioshack.com, it's like, think about it. It's like a Fry's is closed down. You don't want to go to Amazon for some random. television RF switch or something that you need. And it's like, well, where do I go? Oh, radioshack.com. And he's got all his drop shipping and supply selling commerce.
Interesting.
He's got that all
Mhm.
funneled into radioshack.com. So
Yeah,
I
I'm
don't,
looking at it now. Yeah, it says Pier 1, Dress Barn, Steinmart, Linens and Things, Radio
yeah.
Shack. Okay.
And those
So,
are those are places with established audiences. Like my mom used to love Steinmart. I used to hate that
yeah,
place.
yeah,
Yeah.
me too. My mom too.
Weird snack.
We're Cole's family now, but yes, back in the day, yeah.
Yeah.
Um,
But
so
he's
you think he's legit? Do you like him? Is he legit? What do you think?
legit's a tough word to throw around for anybody in this space. I'm not singling out
Yeah.
Ty Lopez. Are they legit? It's like, look, man, a lot of these people, I would just kind of step back and shake my head if they offered me certain things. So you got to know what good to get from them. What good is there to get from Ty Lopez? He's got a lot of programs on his website. Some of them cost more than others. I think that he's got some good information out there, but it's really pick and choose because 67 steps, that the main program he pumps out. I bought it. I thought there was some good information. It recommended a lot of good books. People will tell you it's a scam. This is information you can get anywhere. It's like, yeah, but it's kind of, all laid out. Didn't cost that much money. Some people are like, it's poorly produced. It's like, that's part of his brand. I don't care so much. He's this guy sitting down in his office talking to you,
Mhm.
whatever. So there's a lot to watch out for with him. I mean, like I wouldn't have bought into his Radio Shack crypto token,
Oh,
you know?
wow. Yeah, 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 yeah.
Yeah. So
Okay. Yeah, I'm checking him out. So, yeah, I mean, that he doesn't resonate with me at all. So it's not like I'm looking at his stuff. I'm like, I'm not feeling you. Let's round the bases on these guys. So the other last two here, because we kind of already talked about the OGs, unless there's something you want to throw there. But I don't know. I just saw recently Dan Locke. He looks intense.
he's intense, and I would say a lot of people could fall prey to getting caught up in something that's not for them. He wrote a book called "Fu Money," which I actually thought it was a pretty decent book. I might read it again. But he's like, "Hey, listen, if you want to get somewhere, you need to go high ticket, find that vehicle that's going to take you wherever and latch onto it and work it." So I was listening to him and he was in this class talking to people and they were like, "Well, how do I get this?" He's like, "Hey, listen, a lot of you are going to pay money for this course and you're not going to get anything out of it." And I was like, "What?" And he's like, "Yeah, but if you can find that way to make this information work, to make these connections work, to make this play out, you're going to be successful." And that's basically part of his story where it's like he figured there was this guy he was talking to and the guy was like, "I really really need your help with X, Y, and Z." And he's like, "Look, I don't even offer this kind of service." But then he had to stop himself and said, "Okay, here's how much I charge," and wrote down some,
Stupid number.
tens of thousands of dollars for 2 days. And the guy had to, pay for the flight, fly out to him, how to say all expenses paid. It's like
Hmm.
all expenses on me kind of deal. And he realized like, you know what, I can push these high ticket
Yeah.
offers and I just go around and find enough people. There will be somebody in there who it's right for, and I'm the right person for them.
Mhm.
So it's funny when he was talking to the class, he was like, "Yeah, some of you are going to be here." It's like, "Well, that didn't work for me." And so he's kind of openly saying, not that he's a scam artist, but it's like, "Hey, you know,
Yeah, I mean, I mean, I'm trying to sell some high ticket offers too, to a group that, notoriously may not want to jump on it. But I mean, I'm a big believer in it because it helps with margins. And so I gotta make it work, right? But I get it. It's not easy. But if you can crack that code, man, I mean, have the confidence to just say this is what it costs, dude. and that the sky is open at that point, right? And so that's I think a lot of these gurus, some that figure that out are doing extremely well, right? Because they know, and so I might check out Dan Locke to see what he's talking about. But I think to me that's the path I want to go down too, because it's like Myron Golden said, this is the guru I listen to a lot. He said it takes as much time and energy to make little money as it does to make big money. He's so right.
So you might as well look
He's
for the
so
big money.
right. You might as well make the big money, man. I literally got, clients that got like, hundreds of patients on our platform. And then I got clients that got like 5. And guess what? They both call me with problems. I'm like, why
Yeah,
are you calling me? You got 5 patients. Get out of here. I ain't got time for you.
yeah,
So anyway, so yeah, so okay, I might check him out. Thanks for the recommendation. And then Seth Godin, I mean, he's kind of like almost an OG category. I mean, he talked
yeah,
about
yeah.
marketing and what was his claim to fame? What was that marketing term he came up with?
Purple cow.
The purple cow.
Yeah, he actually didn't come up with that. He popularized it, which is more to his marketing prowess, where it's like I don't even have to create this thing. Here's a great concept. I just need to popularize it. So yeah, Seth Godin's got a lot of short and simple
Yeah.
marketing books that are really like if you need to get certain concepts, I think he's good for them. Like the Purple Cow is one just about being differentiating, or about differentiating yourself. All marketers are liars, which is a great book actually. It's just it gets you into the mindset of what marketing might be about. The idea virus, guerrilla marketing was way back in the day.
Yeah.
So he's got a lot of really short ones that are good. Right now, he doesn't really like or doesn't really play around so much in the normal space of social media. So you're not going to find too much of them unless you look for them.
Yeah, he's kinda slowed down a little bit, and you know what? I didn't put the we should probably put him it's kinda like mid OG, but what's that one guy, the 4-day week? Or
Tim Ferriss.
Tim Ferriss. He
Yeah.
was the OG, man, too, but like like new OG, right? And
Yeah.
so
I like him.
he yeah, he came out of the box with just like, "Hey, the 4-day work week," and just took it by storm. He made the 4-day what did he say? The 4-day workout and all this other stuff, and he
Yeah.
had a podcast, we interviewed everybody. I haven't kept up with him too much lately, but what's the latest and greatest you heard from him?
He's chilling, dude. He's, I think he's more into the scientific mindset now,
Yeah,
where he's just like, he's going to spend all his money just trying to figure something out for his own, mental edification.
yeah, yeah. He was big into experimentation, I remember that, and just, trying different things, so but hey, he was one of the first ones out there, and a lot of folks kinda took some inspiration from him, right? I mean, he came with the whole concept of getting A's, right? Virtual assistants to kinda do a lot of the
Yeah.
menial work for you, and so that's how he kinda created this.
Well, yeah, that was the 4-hour concept, and
Yeah.
it's funny. I think a lot of these guys are saying much of the same thing, and they're working in the same vein, and they start having beefs with each other. Like Grant Cardone's like, "4-hour work week? Why are you telling people that? You need to be working 10 times that." No,
Yeah, I know.
10 times what you should be working, which is 400 hours a week. What's wrong with you? It's like, all right.
Yeah, I mean, I think I come around to that, like different ways. So I do believe there's a time and a place for it, right? When you do have to kind of put that time in and make it happen. But then when you put systems in place, you shouldn't have to, at least on this thing, work that hard. Now, you're building something else, yes. But it shouldn't be, grinding all out, all the time. It should be a season for that. But that's my take now as I'm, building a
Yeah.
business that's a little bit sustainable long term. But yeah, so I used to think that, but yeah, so these guys are interesting. Anything about the OGs?
Oh, geez. Yeah. Some classics here: Tony Robbins, Napoleon Hill, Zig Ziglar, Jim Rohn, Brian Tracy. All of these people on this list that we've talked about will probably point you back to any of these in the past. But the one interesting one I will mention, and this is a story that kind of blew my mind from Napoleon Hill, which I would call the right after P.T. Barnum is probably the OG of OGs on this list, right?
Mhm.
P.T. Barnum, basically from, Barnum and Bailey Circus. Look him up if you don't know.
And then Napoleon Hill wrote Think and Grow Rich, right? That's
Yes,
classic.
Think and Grow Rich. So here's what my gosh, and this guy might be a legit scam artist, which is funny. There is information that a lot of the people in his books didn't exist, that, he was bad with his own money, but which is funny because even if you're even what if what he's saying was true, it's like It's like a guy saying, "Hey, you need to do X, Y, and Z to get fit." And you look at him and like, wow, this guy is not fit, but he sounds like he's saying the right thing. Apparently, he never got it all together to make a lot of money himself.
Mm,
So he wasn't that rich. He, you know, a lot of his stuff may have been made up or fabricated. And this is what American business is built off of. I will even go as far as I'll almost go as far as to say that this mindset, but so he has a lot of books, not just Think and Grow Rich, right?
yeah.
I realized because I was listening to a woo woo person, right? And they were like, "Yeah, I got this from Napoleon Hill and, manifesting." And I was like, "Holy crap." It just clicked to me. The spiritual and the spiritual side and the business side of America used to be one thing where people would evangelize and they would sell you on, the idea of America and buying
Mhm,
into all their products. And when I was reading these Napoleon Hill books, I'm like, he's talking about, it's your God-given duty to uphold. And I'm like, yo, this dude sounds like a pastor. He sounds like a
mhm,
business person.
mhm,
And then it's somewhere along the way, you ended up with the woo-woo side of America and the business side. And I'm listening to Napoleon Hill. I'm like, yo, this is the foundation of America. And it used to be one thing that it blew my mind to have that realization that both of these sides are extremely American.
mm. Yeah, I mean, it's Americana one-on-one, and you're right. I mean, some would argue that now we decoupled it too much where, there's just business, success without God, and not enough, business success talked about with God, right? So, but you're right. I mean, Jim Rohn's another one. If you listen to some of his stuff, he talks
Mhm.
about like, sowing and reaping, right? Which is
Yeah.
absolutely a biblical, concept, and, but yeah, but going back to Napoleon Hill, one of the things that always blew my mind was he has a chapter 11, and I'm looking at the chapters, "The Mystery of Sex Transmutation."
Dude,
You
yes.
remember that chapter?
Sex transmutation sounds crazy, but
There's some truth there. So, basically, the concept was that it's hard for a young man to make a lot of money because he's out there chasing that tail.
yeah.
So, the power of a man, if he can just take all that energy and transform it into his business, he will be so much more successful. And so, to me, that blew my mind, and he's not wrong, because literally, I remember my co-founder now, my business partner now, he came to me when I was in grad school, and we were going to try he said, "I wanna start a business," and I said, "Yeah." I was sitting in the room with him, I was like, "Yeah, we're gonna start this business. Yeah, I'm excited." He was talking about, "Oh, we got to start LLC, we're gonna do this stuff." And all I could think about was like, I got some girls I gotta call, right? For some dates and stuff. And I sat there, I said, "Man, look, man, I ain't paying attention, man. I don't think it's the right time for me to start this right now." And so I walked out the room, and that was a good decision for me
Yeah.
at the time, right? Because I wasn't ready. I had too much other stuff that
Yeah.
was, energies. And so when I read that book, I think I read this book like maybe like during the pandemic again. I was like, "Oh my God, this dude." So yeah, I mean, it's specialized knowledge is in there, imagination, organized planning. I mean, stuff that we know now, but it's definitely a core of some of the
That
things that
sex
the gurus talk about it.
transmutation.
That was hilarious, so look out. I mean, and there's some other folks we don't talk about on this list, but if you're not an entrepreneur in the corporate America, like Peter Drucker, he's a big guy.
Mm,
He
yeah.
has a book called Manage Oneself, and that's a good book to check out. Jim Collins, Good to Great, he talks about like how businesses can, stay last, till of time. So there's a lot of other business gurus. I forgot the guy who did the zero email guy. I can't remember his name, but he
Zero
did that
email.
was yeah, there was a guru that went around talking about you need to have zero email inbox. And
Oh, oh,
yeah, so yeah, come to me later. Yeah, that was his big thing. So yeah, so there's a lot of gurus and just corporate America. And then we didn't get into the health gurus and
oh. Yeah, every
all that
every
stuff.
every niche is going to have their own style of gurus. So what I actually suggest is people find a high level guy that they can kind of match with their vibe and personality. For me, it was pretty much Grant Cardone as being the major overriding kind of okay, let me rock with what he's doing. As far as attention getting goes and social media, Gary Vee is the big guy for me. And then there are a bunch of little, like there's a book guru guy. Hey, you can market your books this way. Let me show you how. Then there's a fitness guru. Obviously, you have these guys. Hey, you want to live like this and eat what you want or whatever, do this. So yeah, I find a big guy and then the very low level guy that I look
Yeah,
for.
that's probably more tactical too, right? He'll give you the nuts and bolts of how this thing really works.
Yeah.
So, pastor gurus, real quick. The big two I always think about, I know there's more. Everyb
Scam. Sorry.
Oh,
Sorry. No, just kidding.
Joel Osteen, the smiling pastor, right? He just blew up over the last, decade or so, or 20 years, really. And then TD Jakes, right? Who's big time out of Houston and, just, everywhere. So I did now, we can talk about the pastors in general, or, I did want to ask you a specific question. Before the pod, I asked you about why is TD Jakes showing up smiling on the Grant Cardone sales marketing leaflet. So maybe you can get some insight on where's
Oh
this
yeah.
connection between a Scientologist and a Baptist preacher.
So so yeah, TD Jakes has been around for a while doing his thing. He started at, the Potter House, selling books and tapes and all that. So he was fully in line to go the entrepreneur, preacher, evangelist kind of route where he's selling books, TV appearances, DVDs. He's got these little Potter House franchises in different cities where, you kind of go and I don't want to call it a church service, but yeah, it's just, you know, faith-based production that he's got going on in franchise. So you kind of saw him going in that direction. And with this whole social media thing, it's like on the download, he started kicking it up a notch. Like he's wearing crazier clothes, he's showing up, and he's like, "Oh, you need to," So he's slowly bringing in this sales stuff, and I was like, "What's TD Jakes doing?" Of course, I'm already on Grant Cardone, so I'm looking at him from one side, and I'm going through all the videos of interviews, and TD Jakes shows up, and I'm like, "Wait, what? Hold on, let me read this again. Russell Bronson, Ty Lopez, Brad Lee, Frank Kern, TD Jakes." S- So I
What was this at? What was this event?
no, he did one of the Grant Cardone 10X events.
Tennis? Yeah, I
Yeah.
think I did see that. Okay.
And he was on stage doing his talk, like, how do Grant asked him, "Hey, how do you get out there and do your thing?" And TD Jakes, "Oh, you gotta have conviction. You gotta be, you can't just be talking about getting money. You gotta get the money for the." And it's like, really? Wow. These two, so they just bridged that whole thing. And he didn't say money, but he's talking about success, being
Mhm.
fruitful.
Yeah.
So you could easily take whatever he said and put it in a sermon, and you're like,
Yeah.
there it goes.
Interesting. So he's connected to him through the 10X. Yeah, I mean, why not? I
Yeah.
guess. Man, it's a new world, man.
What's interesting about Grant Cardone, real quick, he took the podcast model and applied it to events, which I thought was great. Where the podcast model is, start a podcast, find a guest that's bigger than you, find some guests that are smaller than you, and interview both of those people. And what you start doing is the podcast guests that are smaller than you, they have their own communities and they're like, "Hey, I got on this podcast that was bigger than me, that has more following than me, that has more attention than me. I'm going to tell all my friends I was on this podcast." And then when you get the guy bigger than you, you're like getting a favor from that person.
Mhm.
So you're like, "Hey, listen, I have all these people that follow me. I'm trying to get together. Could you help me out?" And once in a while, you'll get somebody that says, "Yes, I'll be on your podcast. Here are the stipulations. Here's what I'm trying to sell." So you have this cachet now with a bigger guy to pull in more people smaller than you and pull in more podcast guests. And once you get more podcast guests, more listens, more episodes, you have more people following you.
Yeah.
And it's just this
Flywheel.
continually flywheel type of thing. So I noticed Grant Cardone was doing that with live events where it's like, "Hey, listen, I'm holding this seminar in Chicago. We're going to be there for 3 days. Guess who's going to be there?" And it's all these names of people. And I'm like, oh, the podcast thing, but applied to live events where he's getting people smaller than
Mhm.
him. And when I say smaller than him, he's picked up on, like you said, interviews with David Shands, interviews with, just a lot of smaller people who you wouldn't
Yeah,
think he'd have time for,
yeah.
but he's doing that to get his name out. So that's what I got from that. That's I was supposed to answer your question. I didn't get to it.
Yeah, just about TD and TD Jakes mixing with Grant Cardone. But you're right. I mean, Grant Cardone is definitely becoming the epicenter. He just did, and I was listening to another guy we don't talk about. What's his name? The guy, the
Mm.
sales guy. He's kind of out there.
Oh, Dan Henry?
Dan Henry. Yeah, he came under Russell Brunson. Then he is a big influencer on the sales thing now, and he actually got coached by Myron, and then Grant Cardone invited him out to a big event in Miami where all these, mid to your point, smaller creators, compared to Grant, came out and he kind of, gave us some insight on how he runs his operations, which and it's so funny. So now, so I was like, why'd he do that? And so I'm sitting here getting emails from Ryan, right? Because I'm on his little mastermind and he sends me an email about Grant Cardone's thing. And so I was like, oh, so he, indoctrinated them, rode him
Okay.
around on 10X plane, the
Uh,
helicopter, gave him some love. Said, hey, I just want to, want you guys to, but I'm going to have this event. So please promote it. I may give you some affiliate money or, but
I
he's
see.
building this, this group of connections and stuff with different influencers in different markets, so that, they love on him and he gives them love back because he'll show up on their pod and stuff like that, right? So, yeah, man, yeah, you're right, man. I think Grant is like, I mean, the dude is making it happen, man. And now he's promoting his Jared guy is like, kind of like the second in command. So he's starting to
Mhm.
speak more. He's got his wife out there speaking. So yeah, yeah, Grant's gonna be,
Yeah, I
keep doing his
follow it.
thing.
I follow his cameraman on Instagram. 'Cause it's like 'cause it's funny, no one's following the cameraman, right? So, you can actually ask questions, and the people over there will be like, "Yeah, man, we were just hanging out in Miami and grabbed some
Mhm.
drinks and blah, blah, blah." You can just have conversations. You can't do that on Grant's page, so
Interesting. So, yeah, man. Oh shoot, man. We covered them, man. Ooh, this is a longer pod than we thought it would be, but yeah. So I
so
guess they could tell we know our group, man. We know a lot of stuff, man. I didn't think we would do a
we know a
2 hour
lot of
pod on
stuff.
gurus.
So real quick as we wrap up here, who do you trust?
Yeah, good point, man.
'Cause ultimately, like, you've got money, you think you have a gap in your knowledge that you need to fill out, and somebody comes online and says, "Hey, buy my product, get into my course, follow me on Instagram." It just seems like the car salesman, you're gonna buy a lemon. What do you look for?
Yeah, I mean, I think I'm just thinking about recent experiences, right? I mean, it's got to be a low cost entry for me, right? Initially, to kind of understand more about them. So when I
Okay,
kind of
learn
got
more.
into, yeah, so that's what helped me get into Grant's, funnel, and even Gary V's funnel. But then it was, with Myron, it was more trust because I saw all the content he had. And there's a book on that called Oversubscribed. If you can get 11, and that's my goal for my content, get at least, people watch you about, 11 times. They feel
Mm.
like they know you. It's almost like they get addicted to you. And so, my goal is to get 11 hours of content at least, in a couple months because
You
I
mean
want people,
110?
huh?
You mean 110 hours?
Why you said, oh, yeah, yeah. 10X, baby. Come on, dog. But, I mean, that's just my goal, initial goal, because you just want people just to see so much of you so often that, they feel like they know you, right? And then you and I made a good point to someone else, when you're scrolling now on on YouTube or TikTok, you're seeing like celebrities right next to regular people who are gurus, right? And so now your mind is associating celebrity, these gurus as celebrities. And so now you're almost like following them like that. So anyway, so who do I trust? So I do trust the folks that, they have low barrier entry. I can kind of get to know and see the body of work. And then that builds more faith and trust in me. Right. And then reason and the biggest expense I spent was the Ryan Pineda thing. And the reason why I spent so much because I saw it, right? I saw him go from nothing to this and, he came at the right time. I was like, "Hey, I gotta build more of a better presence,"
Okay.
and he has a program. So when it comes to trust, it's just, having a body of work and consistency, and I'm like, "Okay, you're legit."
So you're seeing when you say you saw him do something, those are the receipts for you. Get the receipts.
Yeah, get the receipts, man. Yeah, people can give you like, oh, I got these folks talking. I did this for this person, this person, this person. But for what I needed for my business and what he transformed his business using social media, I was okay. He has a receipt. I saw it from my eyes, right? So that you don't always get that with gurus. Some of the because they don't have it because this they usually just have avatars. Examples of
Mhm.
customers that look like you that you can talk to. So, that could help too. But barring that, I have to, get a sense that, they have something I need right now and I've seen that they got the results. And so, now, you go through it, be honest with you, some of the stuff I'm like, okay, I don't think there's some depth here that's missing a little bit, here and there with some of the social media.
Mhm.
But it's fine. At least if nothing else, I'm at least tracking what he's doing and so, because he's probably seen more trends than I'm seeing with social media because of his connections. So if
Yeah.
nothing else, I can gleam on that. It's a little bit faster than other folks. And so that could give me enough arbitrage, right? To just, in my niche, stand out a little bit more. So that's kind of how I'm looking at it.
All right. That makes
Yeah.
sense.
You understand what I'm saying? So basically, I'm just saying, so yeah, the information is given, after some basic fundamentals, is basically what everyone is saying, just how to stand out and be different. But because he's so high up and he's kinda, seeing things a little bit different more than I can, if
Mhm.
I could just draft off his and then take his knowledge set and then apply it to my niche, I'll probably be so much further advanced than my competition because I'm seeing stuff they
Right.
never see.
So, and I want to ask a question that somebody who really hasn't bought into something would find. Why is that different, or doing what you're doing different? We're not talking about the speed thing, but if you're just talking about pure information, what does that person have that you couldn't get from a free book at the library on like sales, marketing, or real estate business or whatever?
Books, how fast are books that knowledge? How relevant is that knowledge? Is it like, knowledge that is like day of knowledge? Like these algorithms are changing all the time. You got some basic stuff. I get that part. Marketing is marketing, but you know, if you're not seeing, how, some one little tweak, like, one of the strategies told me, and I'm just putting it out there, he said, focus on shorts. That's where YouTube is putting algorithm, right? So
Mhm.
that you'll start seeing traction faster in your niche if you just focus on shorts. And then how do you follow that model to kind of get people to watch your shorts fast more? And so stuff like that, and that he's, kind of drafted on because he's spending so much money to
Mhm.
keep his his marketing engine going. So
Yeah.
so to your point, speed, but also timing of that, it's all speed too, timing of that knowledge. And also, man, you don't have time for everything. You got to build the product and you got to learn this stuff. You got to realize you got to pick and choose which one you really gonna like, go all in on. And if there's pieces that you can glean a little bit faster, especially if you're an artist, I don't see how you're gonna have the time, you gotta perfect your art, artistry. How you gonna have the time to kind of, you can do some basic stuff, but then, there's levels to this, right? Just
Right.
like in your art. And so,
Yeah.
just because you can build a landing page and get some emails, sure. But like you said, there's levels to this. Like, okay, well, they send the email at 2, then you can send an offer at 3, and then you can change that offer at 4. So,
Yeah.
you can do all kinds of stuff and you just don't have time to get to optimize it. So why don't you go learn from someone else?
I think along that line, what I figured out is that a lot of these gurus, while they are telling you a lot of times basic information, that's like saying, how do I the relevancy of what they're talking about? Because at any given time, there are 27 different things that I could be doing, and they're all basic. So it's like I could be
Mhm.
fixing up my website, I could be hitting my email list, I could be, doing whatever. And they can cut through all the garbage and say, well, to get the bang for your buck, to get the speed and the momentum that you need to do this right now. That should be your first priority. And for me, a lot of times I couldn't figure that out. I went on live with some guy, like he was one of these, I don't want to say lower level, but a smaller guru called the Dorian Group. I don't know if you know
Mhm.
them. He's into music, and he figured out how to work his music thing, and out of nowhere it became the number one iTunes artist in France. He's like he's like, "Hey, I don't care what you say. I became the number one iTunes artist in France above a lot of these other cats, and just because he worked the system."
Yeah.
So I'm talking to him, and he's like, because I said he went on live, and he said if we want to call tap in, talk to him, and I did, and he was like, yeah. He's like, what are you doing? Like X, Y, and Z. He's like, okay, okay. So you're trying to, and he asked what I was trying to do. So he's like, what am I doing? What am I trying to accomplish? And then he's like listening to me. He's like, okay, yeah, stop all that other stuff and just pump out content. Like, just pump that out. If that's your thing, just get it out to people consistently. And I was like, well, I need my graphics. And he's like, at this point, screw your graphics. No one cares about that right now. And it was just the bang for your buck thing. So out of all the things I could have done, he was like, with the platform and what's happening, you need to do this.
Mhm.
So that happened, and that kind of led to me. That was one of the reasons why I did that whole push for, content last year or the year before, where I was doing like I was doing an hour long Instagram live a day. I was jumping on Instagram live, doing those an hour a day, and I cut up content, put those out. And
Mm.
that worked like extremely well for me.
Mhm.
But if I would have tried any of the other 26 options I had, I could have spent a month or 2, because some of this stuff takes time to actually play out, which is something I didn't realize, where it's like, well, yeah, if I have 27 things to do and I want to it's gonna take at least a week to do them all or 2 weeks to do them all. That's like a whole year of just trying out stuff.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so to your
Yeah.
speed point. So yeah, that was, cutting through all this.
What'd you say? SI the sick program, so I can, right? And so it's kinda like you gotta do all this stuff so you can, but what if you just had someone so you can, right? What if they did all that
Yeah.
stuff, then you just do it, the other
Well,
stuff that you
yeah,
wanna do?
and that becomes part of your sick chain. It's like,
Yeah.
you know, I paid this guru. Why? So I can get to that. It's like,
Yeah,
okay, there
good
you go.
point. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Because if not, I would have had my sick chain would have been this much longer, right? Well,
Right.
now it's this. So
Exactly.
yeah, I agree. So anyway, so I guess we're advocating what, trust but verify, right? These gurus, right?
Yes.
Kind
Trust
of
but verify.
yeah, trust that they have some knowledge and insight that can get you to the next level.
Yeah.
But verify, do your research.
I will say you will waste money.
Yeah,
Um,
I agree.
there will be wasted money. It's like sometimes you go to a movie and it's like, well, I learned never to trust this director again. It's like you just have to, when you're out there on the cutting edge, you have to learn some of these things where it's like, no, it's the cost of doing business. You have to learn, oh, he's pushing this. Not that that's bad, but he's pushing this and I need to go in this direction. Oh, this guy is a complete, scammer or a complete sham. I shouldn't listen to him. I can keep following him because he's entertaining and knows how to get followers, but he's
Yeah.
teaching something that's not relevant to me or that I can't use. So yeah, just
And I would just say this. I mean, people always worried about, oh, if I get scammed, all this stuff. You know what? Myron Golden, I'll leave it at that. I've said his name multiple times, but the way he frames stuff is always
fanboy,
insightful. Yeah, I know.
fanboy.
But it's good. He makes a good point. He said, all
Yeah, yeah,
work works. All work works. So even if the work that you put
yep,
into something that didn't work, you learn something from it. That doesn't work that way. Or like for instance, it took me forever to get this VSL page up, but now that I have it, now I know it, so I can do it like so much faster next time I have to, right?
yeah,
Or at least the framework's there, even though if it may never work, at least it's there. So I think that's the insight people realize. They only look at the work that gives you the result that you want, but the one that doesn't give you the result you want could probably be the better one because that could set you up for a way bigger payday later. But you just don't know. You just got to go through it. So that's the painful part, because we want stuff now, the results now. But to your point, you pay a guru and didn't work out, but you learned something. I guarantee you learned either that's guru not to use or what don't do or why you didn't like that or even framed what you thinking in your head. You thought you were going to be doing what this guru said. You realize, nah, that's not me.
yeah,
So it worked.
yeah. And you'll see plenty of times where a guru actually tries something themselves, it doesn't work, and then they immediately drop it and move to something else.
Yes, all the
And
time.
that seems so untrustworthy, but if you're living that life, that's what's going to happen. So they do it. Why shouldn't you try things out and mess up and, you know, sunk cost. Too bad.
Yeah, yeah, I love it, man. Man, I love it, brother. Anything else, man?
Thanks for doing this one. I wasn't sure if you'd be down with talking about the gurus and things, but as you know from my Facebook group, it's something that's been on my mind, so wanted to talk about it.
Yeah, man. So hopefully get some good advice out there, man. So anything coming up this week?
Anything coming up this week? I'm still just plowing away to finish this resolutions book. It's not gonna be a pamphlet. It's actually I've got 68 pages so far. It's a solid book. So that's why my social media hasn't been extremely on point for the beginning of this year. I'm posting like memes and weird stuff mostly,
Yeah.
but I'm getting this book out, dog, and it's about to be it's good, baby.
I
So
love it. I love it.
this will be my 10x rule, or my sell or be sold. This will be my version of that.
Oh, snap.
Oh,
Uh-oh. Gauntlet, gauntlet. Oh, so we try to be like Grant Cardone now.
what do you think?
So I love it. I love it. Yeah, man. Same here, man. I'm out here in these streets, man. These digital media streets, man, putting out content every day. It's been interesting, man. And I'm learning a lot about myself, but it's like to your point, every idea I have, I mean, since I gotta do video, I'm like, I was at Disney World. I had an idea about business. I was at McDonald's. I had an idea about that, right? I just saw this movie. I got an idea about that. So I'm kind of excited. It's really kind, and then also, like I said, literally, I'm getting comments and stuff already from folks, newbies that I'm getting subscribers, and I just did this like 2 weeks ago. So really, start going in. So I'm excited about where this can go in the next 2 months. If 2 months, if we stay consistent. So yeah, I'm building my personal brand and and that's helping my business brand long term, and so I'm excited about where that goes. And yeah, in business, still trucking along, man. Still trucking along.
Good stuff. Good stuff. Well, I guess we'll wrap it up. I am Mr. Benja, former video game developer, creative for life, and newly minted babe in this social media sales, marketing, branding mindset. It's kind of been dormant, but now I'm kicking it up.
I love it. Yeah. And I'm Theo, business owner in the health tech space, also a babe in the social media space. But pod has been going on for 2 years. It's going to probably go on long, still go, guys, and probably be the thing that we're probably be known for over time. All the other stuff we do, we'll probably circle back and put all our knowledge into this. And this thing will blow up so quick and fast. Everybody, blow people's mind. But yeah, so we're excited that you guys had a chance to listen. So go check us out wherever you listen to podcasts. Show versus business. We usually on it. So you know what, Mr. Benja, we talked about so many gurus. I forgot to give people the shout outs. But anyway, please like, subscribe, and comment. Show versus business on Twitter, YouTube, and Instagram. Listen to us at Spotify, iTunes, wherever you listen to podcasts, and then visit us at our website, Show versus Business. All right, Mr. Benja, take care.
Peace.